In the quiet shadows of history, there are secrets buried beneath the earth, ancient puzzles so perplexing that they defy explanation. What if the greatest civilizations that ever lived left us clues we still can't decipher? Monuments that shouldn't exist, artifacts that defy logic, and structures that seem to mock the limits of human ingenuity. For thousands of years we've searched, but the answers remain just out of reach. Join us as we unravel 3 hours of the most bizarre and inexplicable archaeological mysteries, each one pulling us closer to a truth we may not be ready to understand. What lies hidden in the past, and why are we still haunted by it today? On a small, serene island in the Gulf of Morbihan, off the coast of Brittany, France, stands a monument that has confounded historians and archaeologists for centuries. Gavrinis, a rocky outcrop barely rising above the waterline, holds within its heart one of the most extraordinary examples of megalithic art and architecture. Yet the story of its construction, its purpose, and the people behind it remain elusive. As you approach the island, the stillness of the landscape seems almost to speak, a quiet whisper from a forgotten time. The island itself is not large, only about 10 hectares, but what it hides is far more significant than its modest size suggests. At the center of Gavrinis lies a burial chamber, an ancient cairn made up of massive stones, each carefully placed to form a structure that has withstood the ravages of time for over 5,000 years. The passage tomb, constructed sometime around 3,500 BC, is an architectural marvel in its own right. Its intricate, sweeping design is unlike any other burial site from that era, and the carvings on its stones are no less astounding. Spirals, circles, and abstract geometric shapes adorn the walls, so skillfully etched into the granite that they seem almost alive, as if the rock itself breathes with the energy of a long-forgotten culture. These markings, undoubtedly intentional, have left countless researchers and theorists trying to understand their significance. Were they mere decorations, or did they serve a deeper, more spiritual purpose? Some suggest that the spirals represent the movement of the stars, or perhaps the cycles of life and death. Others wonder if they were part of an early form of written language, or a map of the heavens, meant to guide the dead to the afterlife. Gavrinis is not alone in its mysteriousness. It is part of a larger megalithic tradition that stretches across northern Europe, particularly within the region known as the Celtic Heartland. But what makes Gavrinis so striking is the sense of isolation that surrounds it. The island itself is small, and the tomb lies far from any major settlements of the time. So who were the people who built it? And why did they choose this secluded island to construct such a monumental site? Theories abound. Some have suggested that the people who built Gavrinis were not alone in their knowledge. Could they have had help from an advanced civilization, one lost to history? Or perhaps their understanding of architecture and astronomy was passed down through contact with seafaring peoples from distant lands, cultures that have left no trace in the historical record. Others argue that the tomb may have been built by a group with knowledge of the stars, perhaps even using advanced mathematical systems that were later lost to the ages. As we contemplate these theories, it becomes apparent that no matter how much we know, much remains beyond our reach. The tomb at Gavrinis stands not only as a testament to the ingenuity and mystery of its builders, but also as a symbol of the unanswered questions that still surround our understanding of ancient history. What did these people know that we have forgotten? And why has their knowledge, their language, and their story been so elusive? The mystery of Gavrinis, like so many other ancient sites, seems to invite us into a conversation with the past, one that we are not yet prepared to fully understand. What hidden truths are still waiting to be uncovered beneath the weight of centuries? And what does this monument to the dead have to teach us about the living? The island's silence may hold the answers, but for now, they remain out of reach. As the world continues to uncover the secrets of the ancient past, some mysteries refuse to be easily explained, standing as monuments to knowledge lost to time. The Longyou Caves, a sprawling network of underground chambers in the Zhejiang province of China, are one such enigma. Hidden beneath the earth, they lie largely untouched by history's understanding, offering no simple answers, only more questions. The Longyou Caves were discovered in 1992, though local legends spoke of them long before that. For centuries, the caves were a local mystery, believed to be natural formations, until the first modern excavations revealed a far more deliberate and puzzling design. The complex is made up of 24 massive subterranean chambers, some of which are interconnected by narrow passageways. The sheer scale and complexity of the construction are unlike anything else in the world. Walking into one of these chambers is like stepping into another realm. The walls are carved with precision, smooth and flat, as though a giant hand had carefully sculpted them. The stone itself is not just excavated, it's shaped. An almost unfathomable level of craftsmanship for a time when even the most sophisticated civilizations were still in their infancy. The chambers are vast, some reaching over 30 meters in length, with ceilings soaring to more than 20 meters high. These underground halls, despite their sheer size, are incredibly uniform, suggesting a highly organized and planned construction process. Yet, no written record of their creation exists. No inscriptions to tell us who built them, when they were built, or why. The most intriguing aspect of the Longyou Caves, however, is not simply their size or their craftsmanship, it's the complete lack of any historical context surrounding them. While the caves are undeniably impressive, there is no direct evidence of when or by whom they were built. The most accepted theory places their construction sometime between the Zhou dynasty and the Qin dynasty, roughly between 600 BC and 200 BC. But even that is speculative, based on the style of the carvings and the types of tools that would have been available at the time. Some have suggested that the caves may have been a type of royal or ceremonial site, a place of worship, or even a fortified storage area for valuable goods. The precision and scale of the work suggest a level of social organization and labor that would have been required to complete such a monumental task. But no artifacts, no pottery, no tools, no bones, have been found within the chambers, making it difficult to piece together any clues about the people who created them. It's not just the lack of evidence that is troubling, it's the technology used to create the caves. The precision of the carvings and the sheer scale of the excavation imply an advanced understanding of engineering. But how were these chambers built with the technology available in ancient China? The local rock is not soft or easily excavated. Were the builders using tools that have since disappeared from the archaeological record? Or perhaps the builders had access to techniques that modern engineers can only guess at, methods that have been lost to history. The speculation doesn't end there. Some fringe theories have suggested that the Longyou Caves are not the product of human hands at all, but rather a remnant of an ancient, lost civilization far more advanced than anything the world has seen. Some even propose that the chambers were constructed using technology that had been passed down from even earlier, forgotten cultures, perhaps even extraterrestrial beings. These ideas remain on the fringes of archaeology, dismissed by many scholars. However, the eerie perfection of the construction and the lack of any clear explanation continue to fuel such theories. Could it be that the builders of the Longyou Caves were privy to knowledge lost to us today? Or could there have been other forces at work, beyond our understanding of history? What is even more perplexing is the fact that the Longyou Caves appear to have been abandoned long ago. Despite the considerable effort required to construct them, there is no sign that they were ever inhabited for long. There are no signs of permanent settlements, no evidence of any tools or artifacts left behind that might have been used by the people who once worked or lived there. The caves seem to have been left empty, their purpose, whatever it may have been, forgotten, their creators vanishing without a trace. It is also worth noting that the construction of such an elaborate underground system in this particular region of China raises more questions. Why here, and why in such a remote location? The Longyou Caves are located near a series of natural hot springs, and some have suggested that the caves might have served as a kind of subterranean bathhouse or place of healing. The cool, damp air and the isolation of the site would make it an ideal location for such activities. But again, there is no definitive evidence to support this theory. Some theories even speculate that the chambers could have been used for spiritual or religious purposes, perhaps as a place to commune with the dead or the gods. The precision of the carvings, the symmetry of the chambers, and the fact that they appear to be arranged in such a deliberate manner suggest that there may have been a sacred significance to the site. But until any solid evidence is uncovered, such theories remain speculative at best. With so many unanswered questions surrounding the Longyou Caves, it's difficult not to wonder if they will ever give up their secrets. The mysteries surrounding them are as deep and layered as the caves themselves. Was this a place of ancient worship, a monumental feat of engineering, or perhaps a remnant of a civilization that we are still struggling to understand? The lack of concrete evidence only adds to the mystery, leaving us to wonder what other secrets lie beneath the surface, waiting to be discovered. For now, the Longyou Caves remain a silent testament to a distant past, a place where the lines between the known and the unknown blur, and where the answers to some of history's greatest questions remain out of reach. As we move from the labyrinthine chambers beneath the earth to the sunlit plains of the ancient Indus Valley, we find ourselves standing before another mystery, one that stretches the limits of our understanding of early civilization. The Harappa Granaries, an extraordinary archaeological feature of the Indus Valley civilization, stand as silent witnesses to a society that flourished nearly 4,000 years ago, yet whose complexities continue to elude our comprehension. Located in the heart of present-day Pakistan, the ruins of Harappa are a part of one of the world's earliest urban centers, alongside Mohenjo-Daro, both of which were integral to the Indus Valley civilization. The granaries, large rectangular structures, are scattered across the site, but their true function remains uncertain, even though their scale and design hint at a highly organized, sophisticated society. These massive storage buildings, with their impressive brickwork, are unlike anything else from the ancient world, giving us a glimpse into the ingenuity of a civilization whose rise and fall still puzzle historians and archaeologists alike. The Harappa granaries are remarkable not only because of their sheer size, but because of the precision with which they were built. Constructed with uniform bricks and set in a grid-like pattern, they stand in stark contrast to other architectural feats of the time. The granaries themselves are designed to withstand extreme conditions. Cooling systems, ventilation shafts, and high platforms are all part of the construction. These features suggest that the people of the Indus Valley had a deep understanding of climate control and the preservation of grain, a critical commodity in a region that experienced seasonal fluctuations in rainfall and temperature. What is particularly striking about the granaries is their scale. Some of these structures are large enough to store thousands of tons of grain, and their design suggests that the civilization's economy was not only based on agriculture, but also on large-scale trade and perhaps even state-level governance. The fact that these structures were so well organized points to a level of central planning that challenges the conventional understanding of early societies. This is a civilization that may have possessed a level of administrative sophistication far beyond what was previously thought possible in ancient times. Yet, despite their impressive features, the granaries also raise more questions than answers. Why did the builders of Harappa construct such large storage systems, and what did they store in them? While grain is the most commonly suggested item, there is no direct evidence of what was actually held within these storerooms. The mystery deepens when we consider that the Indus Valley civilization's writing system, known as the Harappan script, remains undeciphered. Without written records, It is difficult to say whether these granaries were simply for grain storage or if they played a role in rituals, trade, or even governance. The absence of human remains in Harappa, at least in the quantities expected for a city of its size, adds another layer of intrigue. The society was undeniably urban, with planned streets, complex drainage systems, and advanced sanitation. Yet there is little evidence of monumental tombs or large-scale burial sites, which one might expect from a civilization of such apparent complexity. Where, then, are the people who lived and worked in Harappa? Why does the archaeological record reveal so little about their daily lives and cultural practices? Some theorists suggest that the granaries were not only for grain but for other commodities, such as trade goods or even luxury items. Harappa was a hub of commerce, with trade routes that stretched as far as Mesopotamia. Could these granaries have been used to store valuable items meant for exchange with distant cultures? Other speculations even suggest that the granaries may have served as a sort of state-controlled resource distribution system, perhaps in a way that was integral to the governance of the Indus Valley's cities. But without concrete evidence, these theories remain nothing more than educated guesses. Equally puzzling is the fact that, while the granaries are widespread throughout Harappa, they are not found in every part of the settlement. Instead, they seem to be concentrated in certain areas, raising questions about their ownership or function. Were they controlled by a central authority, or were they communal structures used by the population at large? The layout of the granaries suggests a level of stratification, perhaps indicating that the Indus Valley civilization had a class structure, even if it wasn't immediately obvious in the material remains we've uncovered. Another tantalizing possibility is that the granaries were tied to some form of religious or ceremonial purpose. Some archaeologists have speculated that the sheer size and structure of these buildings may have been designed to impress or even intimidate, suggesting a society in which the concept of abundance, or perhaps control over it, was a central theme. Could these granaries have been more than just utilitarian structures? Could they have had symbolic significance, representing a society's power over nature, or the ability to harness its resources? Then there is the enigma of the Indus Valley civilization's sudden collapse. Around 1900 BC, the cities of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro began to decline, and eventually they were abandoned. What caused this dramatic shift? Was it the collapse of trade routes, a natural disaster, or internal political instability? Some theorists suggest that the disruption of agriculture or a change in the region's river systems may have played a role. But again, the lack of written records makes it difficult to pinpoint an exact cause. Could the granaries, with their emphasis on storage and resource management, have been part of a larger system of societal control that ultimately failed, leading to the downfall of the civilization? And what of the people themselves? Where did they go? What happened to the highly skilled craftsmen, the traders, the engineers who built these structures? Some even speculate that the Harappans' mysterious disappearance could be linked to their inability to adapt to changing environmental or political conditions. Were they simply absorbed into other cultures, or did their knowledge and techniques pass on to other, more resilient civilizations? The lack of burial evidence, combined with the absence of written records, makes the fate of the Harappans one of the greatest mysteries of the ancient world. As we stand before the remnants of the Harappa Granaries, the unanswered questions seem to echo in the air, as silent and imposing as the structures themselves. What role did these granaries play in the grand scheme of Indus Valley life? Were they merely utilitarian, or were they symbols of a complex, multifaceted society? And, perhaps most perplexing of all, what secrets might still lie buried beneath the earth, waiting to be uncovered? The answers may never come, but the mystery remains, inviting us to ponder the depth of a civilization that, despite its brilliance, left behind so much that we may never fully understand. As we turn our attention from the granaries of the Indus Valley to the misty hills of Ireland, we find ourselves drawn to another enigmatic site, one whose purpose remains as elusive as the myths surrounding it. The Loughcrew Cairns, a series of ancient burial mounds perched atop the rolling hills of County Meath, stand as a testament to a long-lost culture, one that left behind no written records, yet created monuments that continue to inspire wonder and speculation. The cairns, built around 3000 BC, are nestled on the slopes of Slieve na Cailleach, or the Hill of the Witch, an evocative name that hints at the deep spiritual significance this site may have held for those who constructed it. The landscape here is serene, even haunting, with sweeping views of the Irish countryside. But the stillness of the hills is in stark contrast to the mystery that lies beneath the earth. Loughcrew consists of a series of megalithic tombs, more than 30 in total, scattered across the hilltops. These cairns are constructed of large stones, many weighing several tons, arranged to form circular enclosures and passageways, some with intricate carvings that remain a puzzle to modern archaeologists. The most striking feature of the Loughcrew Cairns is their alignment with the solstices. During the spring and autumn equinoxes, sunlight streams into the chambers, illuminating their interiors with a golden glow. This precise alignment suggests that the builders possessed an advanced understanding of astronomy, and that the cairns may have been used as ceremonial spaces, designed not just for burial, but for rites tied to the rhythms of the earth and the heavens. The experience of standing in one of the chambers as the light filters through the stone passage is almost otherworldly, a reminder that these ancient peoples were attuned to the cycles of nature in ways that may have been far more sophisticated than we can fully appreciate today. Yet, as with so many other ancient sites, the more we know, the more questions arise. The function of the Loughcrew Cairns has been debated for centuries. While it is clear that they served as tombs, many of them contain the skeletal remains of individuals, along with grave goods such as pottery and stone tools. There is no agreement on whether they were used exclusively for burial or also for ritualistic purposes. Some believe they were designed as gateways to the afterlife, places where the deceased could be united with the ancestors or gods. The carvings found inside the chambers add weight to this theory. Intricate spirals and geometric patterns are etched into the stones, symbols that seem to speak of cycles of life and death, of transformation and transcendence. Others suggest that the cairns were used as observatories or temples, places where the stars, the sun, and the moon were worshipped. The precise alignment of the tombs with celestial events is difficult to ignore. The equinox light that enters the cairns at specific times of the year may have been seen as a divine message or a cosmic affirmation of the connection between the earth and the heavens. Were the people who built the Loughcrew Cairns part of a culture that placed great importance on astrological phenomena, perhaps even seeking to influence or commune with the forces they saw governing the cosmos? The lack of written records from this period only adds to the mystery. While the cairns are not the only megalithic structures in Ireland, sites like Newgrange and Knowth, also in County Meath, share similar astronomical alignments. They are lesser known and less studied. What little we know comes from the study of the stones themselves and the occasional discoveries of pottery, bones, and artifacts. However, the absence of written language leaves a gap in our understanding of the rituals and beliefs of the people who created these structures. The stories of their gods, their myths, and their rituals have vanished, leaving only the stones to speak in a language we can't fully decode. One of the most intriguing aspects of Loughcrew is the possible connection to a larger network of megalithic sites across Europe. These tombs, like the cairns at Loughcrew, were often built with great precision and were aligned with celestial events, suggesting that the builders of these structures may have shared knowledge across great distances. Was there a larger, pan-European, megalithic culture? Or were these isolated pockets of knowledge passed down through generations. Some theorists suggest that the builders of Loughcrew might have been part of a wider maritime culture that traveled across the seas, sharing astronomical and architectural knowledge. Yet, like so many ancient mysteries, this too remains speculative, as there is no conclusive evidence to confirm such widespread cultural exchange. As we consider the meaning of the Loughcrew Cairns, we cannot escape the sense that the site is more than just a physical place. It is a symbol of the broader mystery of human belief and knowledge. The people who built these monuments were clearly driven by a profound sense of purpose. They invested tremendous effort into constructing these tombs, aligning them with the heavens and embedding symbols into their very structure. What did these people believe about death, the afterlife, and their relationship with the divine? What inspired them to carve spirals into stone? And why did they construct these awe-inspiring tombs in such remote and elevated locations? Perhaps the most compelling question of all is why the Loughcrew Cairns, like so many other ancient sites, remain shrouded in mystery. Why have so many details about their purpose and construction slipped through the cracks of time, leaving us with more questions than answers? Was it the intentional erasure of knowledge, or simply the inevitable fading of a culture that no longer exists in a form we can recognize? The legacy of the Loughcrew Cairns, like other ancient wonders, is a reminder of the profound depth of human history, a history that continues to elude our full understanding. These cairns stand not only as burial sites, but as monuments to a belief system that transcended time and space, to a people who saw the world and the cosmos in ways we can only begin to imagine. As we ponder their origins and purpose, we are reminded that some mysteries, no matter how many times we revisit them, may never fully be solved. And perhaps that is the essence of their power. They continue to invite us to look deeper, to ask more questions, and to wonder what still remains hidden beneath the stones. As we shift our focus to the heart of Turkey, we find ourselves standing before a landscape that seems almost otherworldly, an ancient labyrinth of rock formations, carved into towering spires and strange, surreal shapes. The Göreme rock structures, located in the Cappadocia region, are a striking testament to human ingenuity and the mysteries of the distant past. With their unique architecture and sweeping history, these natural wonders, shaped by millennia of volcanic activity, have become a captivating enigma, inspiring wonder, speculation, and intrigue for centuries. The landscape of Göreme is like something out of a dream. The once silky volcanic ash and lava flows that erupted millions of years ago have, over time, transformed into a labyrinth of towering cones, chimneys, and soft, undulating hills. This strikingly alien terrain, shaped by both natural and human hands, stretches across the horizon, creating a dramatic panorama of caves, rock-cut dwellings, churches, and hidden passageways. What makes this place so extraordinary is not just the geological formations, but the way people have interacted with this landscape for thousands of years. The very earth here has been hollowed out, carved and shaped into homes, places of worship, and entire subterranean cities. The most famous of these carved structures are the rock-hewn churches, chapels, and monasteries scattered throughout the region. These ancient sanctuaries, some dating back as early as the 4th century AD, are adorned with frescoes that have withstood the ravages of time. The artistry displayed within these cave churches is nothing short of breathtaking. In some, the walls are covered with vibrant depictions of saints, biblical scenes, and the life of Christ, their colors still vivid despite centuries of weathering. How, one might ask, did a people living in this rugged, seemingly inhospitable land develop such an intricate relationship with the rock, turning it not just into shelter, but into sacred spaces? The construction of these rock-hewn structures is often attributed to the early Christians who sought refuge in the region during periods of Roman persecution. They carved these churches deep into the soft volcanic rock to shield themselves from invaders, and perhaps also to separate themselves from the outside world, creating sanctuaries of contemplation and devotion. However, the complexity of the carvings and the scale of the excavation seem to suggest that the work went far beyond mere practicality. These early builders appeared to have a profound understanding of the earth, an almost mystical relationship with it, and an advanced knowledge of architecture that goes beyond what one might expect of a persecuted community. But here lies the mystery. Why did the inhabitants of Göreme feel compelled to carve entire underground cities and vast networks of tunnels in this remote and rugged region? While the region's early Christian communities are often credited with the creation of many of the structures, it's important to note that Göreme has a much deeper history, one that predates the Christian era. Some believe that this landscape was used long before the Christian era, by ancient peoples who knew how to harness the land's volcanic nature to create elaborate, hidden refuges. Göreme's soft volcanic tuff rock is easily carved, but the skill and precision required to shape the rock into sophisticated buildings, connected by a network of tunnels, points to a high level of architectural sophistication. These rock-cut dwellings are not just simple caves but meticulously planned homes, with ventilation shafts, storage areas, and even places for religious rituals. Some speculate that these subterranean complexes could have been used as refuges from invaders, particularly during the Byzantine period when the region was frequently attacked. But the extent and scale of the underground systems raise further questions. Were these cities meant to be temporary shelters, or did they serve a more profound, perhaps spiritual function? It's not just the underground cities that are mysterious. The very landscape itself seems to have been designed with intention. The positioning of the churches, their alignment to certain natural features, and the unique way in which the rock formations seem to flow from one structure to another suggest a harmony between nature and human intervention. Could these structures have been part of a larger, more complex system of sacred geography, a map of the heavens embedded in the landscape itself? Archaeological evidence points to the presence of early Christians and perhaps even pre-Christian civilizations in the area, but there is very little definitive information about who exactly built the underground cities and how they were constructed. Some researchers have proposed that the original inhabitants of Göreme were not simply early Christians fleeing persecution, but a much older civilization that possessed advanced knowledge of engineering, architecture, and astronomy. Could these people have been part of a larger, ancient culture whose knowledge was passed down through generations, eventually influencing the Christians who later took refuge in the region? One particularly intriguing theory suggests that the builders of Göreme were influenced by the ancient Sumerians, whose knowledge of underground cities and sacred sites spread across the ancient world. This theory is bolstered by the fact that many of the earliest known civilizations, Sumerians, Akkadians, and Egyptians, seem to have shared similar practices of building subterranean structures for both religious and practical purposes. The idea that these traditions could have been passed through centuries, adapting to the needs of successive cultures, is both compelling and perplexing. Could the people of Göreme have inherited knowledge from an even more ancient civilization, one that left no written records, but whose influence can still be felt in these awe-inspiring rock structures? Adding to the mystery is the striking way in which Göreme has been preserved over millennia. Despite the harsh conditions of the region, including centuries of exposure to wind, rain, and the elements, many of the frescoes, carvings, and structures remain remarkably intact. How has this landscape been able to withstand the passage of time while other ancient sites have crumbled into ruin? Some suggest that the peculiar geology of the region, its soft volcanic rock mixed with ash, may have helped preserve the structures. Yet, there is something almost uncanny about how these rock-cut churches and dwellings continue to defy the forces of nature and time, standing firm in the face of centuries of history. Of course, the geological formations of Göreme themselves are a marvel. The region's unique fairy chimneys and conical rock towers, created by ancient volcanic eruptions, appear almost sculpted by hand. Were these formations themselves created for some unknown purpose, or did the early inhabitants of the region recognize them as divine symbols? Some theorists suggest that these formations could be a form of earth art, a kind of sacred geography, a reflection of the human desire to align themselves with the forces of nature. But whether this was an intentional design or a fortunate byproduct of the natural landscape remains uncertain. As we stand among the winding passages and towering spires of Göreme, we are left with more questions than answers. What inspired these ancient builders to carve their homes and churches deep into the rock? Were they simply seeking shelter, or was there something more profound, more spiritual, at play in the creation of these underground sanctuaries? And if the early Christians of Göreme were indeed influenced by a much older tradition, what knowledge did they inherit, and why did they choose to preserve it in such a hidden, enigmatic way? Perhaps the most compelling question of all is whether Göreme, with its otherworldly rock structures, holds more secrets, secrets that could change our understanding of ancient cultures and the forces that shaped them. Could there be hidden chambers, undiscovered tunnels, or lost artifacts still waiting to be unearthed beneath the soil? The mystery of Göreme rock structures, like so many others, remains unsolved, leaving us to wonder how much more there is to uncover in this enigmatic landscape. The answers, if they exist, may be buried just beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. As we leave the surreal landscapes of Cappadocia behind, we now journey northward to the windswept isles of the Orkney archipelago in Scotland. Here, on the edge of the world, a remarkable structure stands frozen in time, a megalithic tomb known as Maeshowe. Resting in the rolling hills of Orkney, this Neolithic wonder offers one of the most profound glimpses into the distant past, yet its full purpose remains shrouded in mystery. Maeshowe is an imposing sight, a massive, dome-shaped cairn constructed with enormous stones that rise from the earth like a silent sentinel. Dating back to around 2800 BC, it is part of a larger cluster of prehistoric monuments that dot the Orkney Islands, including the famous Ring of Brodgar and Skara Brae. But Maeshowe, with its carefully aligned entrance and intricate interior chamber, is far more than just a burial site. It is an enigma, a monument that seems to speak not just of death, but of life, the heavens, and the alignment of human activity with cosmic forces. From the outside, Maeshowe looks like a simple mound of earth and stone, blending into the landscape in a way that makes its true nature easy to overlook. Yet, once inside, the scale and sophistication of the structure become immediately apparent. The tomb is a narrow passageway leading into a central chamber, large enough to hold several people. The walls are constructed of huge sandstone blocks, some of them so perfectly shaped and fit that they seem to have been crafted by a skilled stonemason, yet no tools or methods to explain this precision have been definitively identified. The tomb itself is aligned in such a way that, at the winter solstice, the sun's rays pour through the entrance passage and illuminate the rear wall of the chamber, casting a fleeting, sacred light upon the dark interior. This alignment with the sun, an event that occurs annually, suggests that Maeshowe was far more than just a tomb. It was a monument to the heavens, perhaps even a place of ceremonial significance, where light itself was believed to carry the spirits of the dead to the other world. This connection between light and death, the sun and the afterlife, is a theme that recurs throughout the world's ancient monuments, yet the way it is incorporated into Maeshowe's design seems especially deliberate, calculated, and meaningful. Inside the chamber, visitors are met with an unexpected sight: carved graffiti. Etched into the stone walls are a variety of symbols, some resembling runes and others less decipherable, believed to have been made by Viking invaders who arrived in the area around 1150 AD. These markings are not the work of the original builders, but their presence adds another layer of intrigue to the site. Why, centuries after its construction, would Viking raiders feel compelled to leave their marks on the tomb's sacred walls? Was it a form of reverence, a way to connect with a place that had already taken on legendary status? Or was it simply a mark of conquest, an assertion of ownership over a site that had long been abandoned by its original creators? The Vikings' involvement with Maeshowe, while intriguing, only adds to the mystery surrounding the tomb's purpose. What exactly was its role to the ancient people who built it? Scholars have long debated the function of Maeshowe. Most agree that it was primarily a burial chamber, a tomb for high-ranking individuals or important members of society. But this theory leaves many questions unanswered. In a world where burial mounds were common, what made Maeshowe so special? The precision of its construction, its alignment with the solstice, and its apparent use for rituals suggest that the tomb may have served as a ceremonial space or even as a symbolic gateway to the afterlife. Some believe that Maeshowe was more than a simple tomb. It may have been a center of religious and astronomical knowledge. The people of Orkney during the Neolithic period were far from primitive. They were sophisticated, with an understanding of the movements of the sun, moon, and stars. The alignment of Maeshowe with the winter solstice suggests that the builders had a deep, possibly spiritual connection to celestial events, marking a significant cultural focus on the sun's cycle and the changing of the seasons. Could Maeshowe have served as a place where rituals were performed to honor the sun or the deceased? A place where time itself was marked and observed through the cosmic clock of the heavens? There are also fringe theories that point to more mystical interpretations. Some suggest that Maeshowe's design could be part of a larger, hidden pattern of ancient sites across the British Isles, sites that align with astronomical events, suggesting a knowledge of the stars that transcends the known history of human understanding. Could the builders of Maeshowe have been part of a more widespread ancient civilization whose astronomical knowledge influenced the construction of other megalithic sites, from Stonehenge to the pyramids of Egypt? While such theories are largely speculative, they are fueled by the precise alignments and the evident importance of Maeshowe in the broader context of ancient celestial worship. Adding another layer to the mystery, there are legends surrounding Maeshowe that have persisted for centuries. According to folklore, the tomb is said to be haunted, and some believe that it is the resting place of ancient gods or spirits. Local tales tell of treasure hidden deep within the tomb, guarded by ancient protectors who do not take kindly to those who seek to disturb the resting place of the dead. These legends, though likely embellished over time, speak to the aura of mystery that continues to surround Maeshowe, suggesting that even in antiquity, this place was imbued with an almost otherworldly significance. What, then, was the true purpose of Maeshowe? Was it simply a burial tomb, or did it serve a larger, more complex role in the social and religious life of the ancient Orkney people? Were the builders of Maeshowe aware of its celestial alignment, or was it a feature that developed over time, with the sun's rays coming to symbolize something deeper, more metaphysical, something beyond the realm of mere burial? And what of the Viking runes? Why were these later invaders so drawn to a place that had already been forgotten by its original creators? The mystery of Maeshowe remains unresolved. While we can make educated guesses about its purpose, much of its deeper meaning is lost to time, obscured by millennia of history and layers of shifting cultures. As we explore its dark, silent chambers and stand beneath the celestial alignment of its entrance, we are left with more questions than answers. Was this ancient structure part of a much larger cultural or astronomical system, one that we have yet to fully understand? Or was it perhaps a singular vision, one that was conceived by an ancient people in tune with the natural world in ways we can only begin to comprehend? Maeshowe continues to stand as a silent guardian of history, holding its secrets tightly, challenging us to look deeper into its dark chambers and hidden corners. As the sun illuminates its passageway only once a year, we are reminded of the passage of time and the ever-present mysteries that the earth still holds. Secrets that may one day be unlocked, but only if we are patient enough to listen and wise enough to understand. As the sun sets over the jagged peaks of the Andes, casting long shadows over the lush green valleys below, there lies a forgotten city, hidden deep in the mountains of Peru, concealed by thick vegetation and rugged terrain. This is Choquequirao, a name that echoes through the corridors of history, though few have set eyes on it. Despite its breathtaking beauty and undeniable historical significance, Choquequirao has largely remained in the shadows of its more famous counterpart, Machu Picchu. Yet, as we explore this ancient site, a sense of mystery lingers in the air, inviting us to question not only the origins of this enigmatic city, but the very nature of the civilization that created it. Choquequirao, often called the sister city of Machu Picchu, sits on a high, narrow ridge that overlooks the Apurimac River far below. The site, nestled at around 3,000 meters, 10,000 feet, above sea level, is far less accessible than Machu Picchu, its remoteness contributing to its relative obscurity. The journey to reach it is a challenging one, a trek through dense forests and along steep cliffs, an experience that preserves Choquequirao in a kind of ancient solitude, untouched by the modern world. This isolation, however, is precisely what has helped preserve the site, and it is this same isolation that has sparked countless questions about the civilization that built it. The first thing that strikes any visitor to Choquequirao is the sheer scale and precision of the site. The city is laid out across multiple terraces that rise up the mountain, each level supported by a complex system of stone walls, plazas, and agricultural areas. The architecture, much like that of Machu Picchu, is undeniably Incan in style, with its finely crafted stonework, perfectly fitted without mortar, and the characteristic trapezoidal doors and windows. Yet, despite these similarities, Choquequirao also presents unique features that set it apart, features that seem to suggest it may have been more than just a typical Incan city. Archaeological evidence suggests that Choquequirao was an important ceremonial and religious center, possibly a place of pilgrimage for the Inca elite. Some believe it may have even served as a spiritual counterpart to Machu Picchu, an elevated and sacred place where the elite could commune with the gods. However, this theory is not without its challenges. The site appears to have been built over a long period, with some parts of Choquequirao dating back to pre-Incan times, hinting at a deeper cultural significance that predated the rise of the Inca Empire. Could Choquequirao have been an ancient religious site long before the Incas arrived in the region? Or was it entirely a creation of the Inca civilization, a symbol of their power and a testament to their architectural prowess? The true origins of Choquequirao remain a mystery, with no definitive answers about who built it and when. Some researchers suggest that the site was constructed during the reign of the Inca Emperor Pachacuti in the 15th century, while others believe that it could have been in use even earlier. What is certain, however, is that Choquequirao was a highly significant location within the Inca Empire. Its layout, which includes expansive agricultural terraces, plazas, and even a complex system of water channels, indicates that it was a place of both practical and ceremonial importance. Some have even speculated that Choquequirao may have been a strategic military outpost during the Incas' conquest of the region, serving as a defensive stronghold against potential invaders. The most striking feature of Choquequirao is its extraordinary terracing system. These terraces, which were used to grow crops and stabilize the slopes of the mountain, are some of the most intricate examples of Incan engineering. The terraces are not just functional. They are a testament to the Incas' deep understanding of their environment. Water management systems, highly advanced for their time, were integrated into the site, and the placement of the terraces appears to have been carefully planned to take full advantage of the mountain's natural contours and the seasonal patterns of rain. It is clear that the Incas had a sophisticated grasp of the relationship between agriculture, architecture, and the natural world. But why was so much effort put into this particular location, deep in the mountains, far from the heart of the empire? One possible explanation is that Choquequirao was strategically placed to control access to the valley below and the important trade routes that passed through it. The Apurimac River, which flows beneath the city, was an important waterway that connected different parts of the empire. By placing a city on the ridge above it, the Incas may have been able to monitor and control the flow of goods and people through the region, further solidifying their control over the surrounding territories. However, the strategic location of Choquequirao raises more questions than it answers. If the city was indeed an important military or economic center, why was it abandoned so suddenly? Unlike other Incan cities, Choquequirao does not show signs of being destroyed by the Spanish conquistadors. Instead, it seems to have been abandoned before the arrival of the Europeans, an abandonment that is as mysterious as its origins. Some suggest that the site was abandoned due to its remote location, which made it difficult to defend against invaders or maintain as the Inca Empire began to collapse. Others speculate that the abandonment of Choquequirao could have been tied to a shift in Incan religious or political practices, a kind of deliberate retreat from the site that was meant to symbolize a break from the past. Yet, no definitive explanation has been found. The abandoned state of Choquequirao, combined with its isolation, has led to some wild speculations. Some fringe theories suggest that the site could have been a place of profound mystical significance, perhaps linked to lost knowledge or even extraterrestrial influences. These theories often point to the precision of the site's construction, its alignment with celestial events, and the advanced agricultural practices that seem to transcend the needs of a simple settlement. While these ideas are not widely accepted in mainstream archaeology, they nonetheless add an intriguing layer to the ongoing mystery of Choquequirao. What if, in its remote isolation, the city held a secret that has yet to be uncovered? Could it have been a place where knowledge of the cosmos, of the Earth's natural forces, and of sacred rituals converged? Equally fascinating is the discovery of a large ceremonial plaza, where intricate stonework suggests the performance of religious or ritual activities. The plaza is laid out with such precision that it is difficult to ignore the possibility that it had an astronomical function, perhaps tied to solstices or equinoxes, much like the sacred sites at Machu Picchu. The Inca had an advanced understanding of celestial movements, and many of their most sacred sites were aligned with the stars. Could Choquequirao have been a place where the sun, the moon, and the stars were worshipped? Where the cycles of nature were honored and incorporated into the daily life of the people? As we stand before the grand terraces of Choquequirao, the questions only multiply. What role did this remote city play in the grand scheme of the Inca Empire? Was it truly abandoned, or did its purpose evolve in ways we cannot fully comprehend? And perhaps the most profound question of all, what might still be hidden beneath the thick vegetation that has enveloped this ancient site for centuries? Are there untold secrets, forgotten rituals, or undiscovered structures lying just beneath the surface, waiting to reveal themselves to a world that is only beginning to understand the depth of Inca culture? The mystery of Choquequirao remains unsolved, a quiet testament to a civilization that once dominated vast stretches of South America. The city, though partially excavated, continues to resist full exploration, its secrets held tightly by the mountain ridges and the thick forests that encircle it. As more is uncovered, it becomes increasingly clear that Choquequirao is not just a forgotten ruin, but a living mystery, a site that may one day provide answers to questions that have lingered for centuries. But until then, we are left to ponder. What was Choquequirao truly meant to be, and what still lies buried within its remote and rugged landscape? As we journey further into the depths of ancient mysteries, we find ourselves in the arid, sun-baked plains of northern Peru, where an enormous and ancient structure rises from the desert floor, its towering silhouette casting long shadows in the setting sun. This is Huaca del Sol, a colossal mud-brick pyramid that once served as the heart of one of the most powerful and enigmatic pre-Columbian civilizations in South America, the Moche. At first glance, Huaca del Sol is an imposing sight, an ancient pyramid that stretches high above the surrounding desert landscape. Unlike the stone monuments of Egypt or Mesoamerica, this massive structure was built entirely of adobe bricks, rough-hewn blocks of sun-dried clay that have withstood the passage of centuries. The pyramid, though weathered by time and the relentless desert winds, still retains its grandeur, standing as a silent reminder of a lost civilization. Its original height is estimated to have been over 40 meters, 130 feet, and it covers an area of more than 20 hectares, making it one of the largest adobe structures ever built in the ancient world. But what makes Huaca del Sol truly fascinating is not just its size or its impressive construction. It is the mystery that surrounds its purpose, its builders, and the culture that once thrived here. The Moche civilization, which flourished along the northern coast of Peru from around 100 AD to 800 AD, was a culture of remarkable artistic achievement and advanced engineering. The Moche built grand ceremonial centers, created intricate pottery, and constructed vast irrigation systems that transformed the arid desert into fertile agricultural land. Yet, despite their technological prowess and cultural richness, much about the Moche remains shrouded in mystery, especially the role that Huaca del Sol played within their society. Archaeologists have long believed that Huaca del Sol was a center of religious and ceremonial activity, perhaps even a temple dedicated to the Moche gods. Its massive size and central location suggest it was a place of great importance, possibly the seat of Moche political and spiritual power. But who exactly were the Moche, and why did they build such a monumental structure in the middle of a harsh desert landscape? Was Huaca del Sol a symbol of their divine connection, or was it a practical center for the administration of their empire? And, perhaps most importantly, what secrets might lie hidden beneath the layers of mud and earth that have accumulated over centuries? One of the most compelling aspects of Huaca del Sol is the elaborate iconography found in the artifacts uncovered in its vicinity. Excavations have revealed intricate pottery, murals, and sculptures that depict a wide range of deities, animals, and human figures, many of which are associated with the Moche's religious practices. The Moche were known for their vivid depictions of gods, warriors, and mythological creatures, often portrayed in highly detailed ceramics. Some of the most famous Moche vessels show images of sacrifice, with gods and humans depicted in elaborate ritual scenes, raising the possibility that Huaca del Sol was not just a religious site, but a place where complex and possibly violent rituals took place. Among the most striking and puzzling finds are the depictions of the so-called decapitator god, a figure that appears repeatedly in Moche art. This god is shown wielding a ceremonial knife and is often depicted in the act of decapitating enemies. Some scholars believe that the Moche practiced ritual sacrifice, possibly even human sacrifice, and that Huaca del Sol was a site where these rites were performed to appease the gods and ensure the prosperity of the civilization. The presence of such imagery raises important questions about the religious beliefs and practices of the Moche. How central was human sacrifice to their worldview, and to what extent did their architectural and artistic creations reflect their spiritual and political power? Yet, while the evidence of ritualistic imagery is compelling, it only deepens the enigma of Huaca del Sol. The very nature of the site, constructed from adobe bricks, challenges traditional notions of monumental architecture. Unlike stone-built pyramids or temples, the mud-brick construction of Huaca del Sol has proven difficult to preserve. The relentless erosion of the desert winds and the passage of time have worn away much of the structure, leaving only fragments behind. Archaeologists have had to excavate carefully, peeling back layer after layer of mud and debris to uncover the hidden chambers and walls within. What was once a towering structure is now a series of fragmented terraces and platforms, each revealing new layers of history and mystery. What might still lie buried in the depths of this ancient site waiting to be uncovered? One of the most significant aspects of Huaca del Sol's construction is the fact that it was built in layers. Archaeologists have discovered that the pyramid was not constructed all at once, but rather in successive stages, with each layer of bricks built on top of the previous one. This method of construction is not unique to the Moche, but it raises intriguing questions about the site's long-term significance. Why would the Moche have chosen to build such an enormous structure in stages, adding new layers over time? Was the pyramid meant to symbolize the growth and endurance of the Moche civilization? Or was it a physical manifestation of their connection to the gods, an offering that was continually renewed with each new layer? And, more importantly, what might these layers contain, cultural, religious, or political markers, hidden beneath the surface? Despite the importance of Huaca del Sol, it has often been overshadowed by its more famous counterpart, Huaca de la Luna, the Temple of the Moon, which lies nearby. Huaca de la Luna is smaller but better preserved and is famous for its striking murals and intricate iconography. While Huaca del Sol remains the larger and more imposing of the two, it is Huaca de la Luna that has garnered more attention from archaeologists due to the wealth of murals and artwork found within its walls. The murals depict elaborate ritual scenes, including human sacrifice, and offer a window into the complex religious practices of the Moche. But while Huaca de la Luna has been thoroughly studied, Huaca del Sol remains far more enigmatic. Many aspects of Huaca del Sol remain unexplored, and the site has only been partially excavated. While archaeologists have unearthed important artifacts, much of the pyramid's interior remains buried beneath layers of sand and mud. What might these untouched areas hold? Could there be undiscovered chambers, secret passages, or even royal tombs hidden within the pyramid's vast expanse? Some speculate that the tombs of Moche rulers could be buried deep within the site, awaiting discovery. Yet, due to the fragile nature of the adobe bricks, much of the pyramid structure has been lost to erosion, and what remains is often too delicate to explore fully. As we look at the fragmented remains of Huaca del Sol, it is impossible not to wonder about the people who built it. Who were the Moche, and what drove them to create such an immense and intricate monument in this desolate landscape? What were their beliefs, their rituals, and their view of the world? And, most tantalizing of all, what secrets might still be buried beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves? Like so many ancient sites, Huaca del Sol holds its mysteries tightly, challenging us to look deeper and consider the unseen layers of history that lie just beneath the surface. As we stand before this monument to a long-lost civilization, we are reminded that even the most impressive and enduring of ancient structures can still hold many secrets, and that in time we may yet uncover the true story of the Moche and their great pyramid in the desert. As we continue our journey through some of the world's most enigmatic ancient ruins, we find ourselves in the lush, tropical forests of Veracruz, Mexico. Here, nestled among the hills and dense vegetation, stands El Tajín, a forgotten city whose once vibrant life is now a series of crumbling pyramids and mysterious stone structures rising from the earth like silent sentinels. El Tajín is a place that seems to exist at the very crossroads of history, where the past is both incredibly present and deeply elusive. El Tajín's sprawling ruins lie in stark contrast to the modern world, as though it were plucked from the pages of an ancient mystery and left to slowly fade beneath the weight of time. The site is dominated by the Pyramid of the Niches, an imposing structure that is both beautiful and puzzling. This pyramid, with its perfectly symmetrical design and the distinct niches carved into its walls, draws the eye immediately. There are 365 of these niches, one for each day of the year, and their purpose has been the subject of much speculation. The pyramid is built in such a way that it seems to align with the heavens, suggesting that the people who built it had a deep understanding of astronomy and the passage of time. But the question remains, why such an elaborate structure for something as seemingly simple as the days of the year? The city of El Tajín flourished between 600 and 1200 AD, during the height of the classic Veracruz period, and it was an important political and cultural center for the ancient Totonac civilization. Yet despite its significance, El Tajín remains one of the most mysterious and least understood sites in Mesoamerica. The complexity of the city's layout, its unique architectural features, and the cultural richness of the artifacts found here all suggest that it was a place of great importance. But what exactly was its role in the broader context of ancient Mesoamerican civilization? Was it a city dedicated to the gods, a center of political power, or perhaps a place where the elite gathered to observe the cosmos and engage in sacred rituals? The design of El Tajín suggests that it was more than just a functional city. The presence of pyramids, ball courts, and ceremonial platforms points to the possibility that El Tajín was a center for religious and political activity. The ball court, a key feature of many Mesoamerican cities, hints at the ceremonial importance of the site. In the ancient world, the ball game was not just a sport. It was a ritualized event that symbolized the battle between life and death, the forces of order and chaos, and the eternal cycle of creation. Could the rulers of El Tajín have used the ball game as a form of symbolic communication with the gods, or even as a political tool to assert their dominance over rival cities and factions? But while the ceremonial elements of El Tajín are intriguing, it is the pyramid's niches that have captivated the imagination of archaeologists and historians alike. What were these niches for? Most scholars believe that they were part of the structure's symbolic relationship to the sun and the calendar, perhaps representing the days of the year or the movements of the celestial bodies. But there are other theories. Some suggest that the niches could have held statues or offerings to the gods, while others propose that they were meant to house the remains of important individuals, perhaps the rulers or priests of the city, who were venerated after death. The precise function of these niches remains elusive, and this uncertainty adds to the mystery that surrounds El Tajín. Another aspect of El Tajín that has puzzled researchers is its sudden and mysterious decline. By the 13th century, the city was abandoned, leaving behind only the ruins that we see today. What caused the downfall of El Tajín? Some archaeologists point to the rise of neighboring civilizations, such as the Aztecs, who may have exerted pressure on El Tajín through warfare or political alliances. Others speculate that internal strife, environmental factors, or even a collapse in trade routes may have played a role in the city's eventual fall. The fact that El Tajín was abandoned so suddenly, with no clear explanation, only deepens the mystery of its rise and fall. Perhaps the most intriguing aspect of El Tajín, however, is its continued connection to the sacred. The Totonac people, who once inhabited this area, held deep spiritual beliefs, many of which were tied to the natural world. The surrounding mountains, the rivers, the stars, and the seasons, everything in nature had a sacred meaning. El Tajín was strategically located near the base of the Sierra Madre Mountains, and it is believed that the natural landscape itself played an important role in the city's design. The Pyramid of the Niches, for instance, may have been built to align with specific celestial events, such as solstices or equinoxes. Was the city's placement a reflection of the Totonac worldview, which saw the world as a series of interconnected sacred sites, each with its own unique significance? In addition to its architectural features, El Tajín is home to an extraordinary array of murals and carvings that depict gods, animals, and ritual scenes. These depictions offer a glimpse into the spiritual life of the people who once lived here. Among the most iconic of these are the depictions of the sacred butterflies, which have been found in several parts of the site. These butterflies, often shown in intricate patterns, may have symbolized transformation or the soul's journey after death. The presence of such symbols suggests that El Tajín was not just a physical city, but a deeply spiritual place, where the boundaries between the mortal world and the divine were constantly in flux. But as with much of El Tajín, the true meaning of these symbols remains unclear. What did the butterflies truly represent? Were they associated with the gods of creation or with the afterlife? Were they part of a larger cosmological scheme that the Totonac believed in, a way of explaining the eternal cycle of life, death, and rebirth? And, like the niches in the pyramid, what deeper meaning might these seemingly simple images hold? Images that have endured for nearly 1,000 years, despite the ravages of time? It is precisely this sense of mystery that keeps El Tajín alive in the collective imagination. Every stone, every niche, and every symbol seems to speak of a world long gone, yet not entirely lost. The question remains, what was El Tajín truly meant to be? Was it a city of the gods, a sacred place where the heavens and the earth met? Or was it something else entirely? Could there be hidden chambers beneath the earth, undiscovered artifacts, or even lost texts that would unlock the secrets of this ancient civilization? As we stand at the base of the Pyramid of the Niches, looking up at its weathered stone walls, we are reminded of the passage of time, how history can fade, but never fully disappear. The mysteries of El Tajín are like the niches in its Great Pyramid, empty spaces that invite us to look deeper, to search for answers in the shadows of the past. And while we may never fully understand the purpose or significance of this remarkable site, the questions it raises continue to captivate us, urging us to explore what still lies hidden, waiting to be discovered. As the fog settles over the English countryside, we find ourselves standing before one of the most mysterious and ancient structures in the landscape of Britain, Stony Littleton Long Barrow. Hidden in plain sight, nestled in a peaceful meadow near the village of Paulton, Somerset, this ancient burial mound offers little more than its silent presence, yet it speaks volumes about a civilization whose customs, beliefs, and motivations have long since vanished from history. Surrounded by sprawling fields and rolling hills, the Long Barrow is both an enigma and a testament to the ancient rituals that once took place here, rituals that may hold the key to understanding the people who constructed it and the ancient world they inhabited. Stony Littleton is not the largest of Britain's many long barrows, but its structure is undeniably striking. It is a burial chamber, built of local stone and measuring nearly 30 meters, 100 feet in length. The Long Barrow has been painstakingly constructed in a way that reflects an almost reverential knowledge of the land and the people who lived in it. Unlike many other burial sites of its time, Stony Littleton is not merely a mound of earth, but an elaborate stone structure with an intricately designed chamber, a space meant to hold and protect the dead. The entrance to the barrow is narrow and deceptively simple, yet the true depth of the site is revealed when you step inside. The interior of Stony Littleton Long Barrow is a labyrinth of chambers, with multiple passageways and niches carved into the stone. The structure's design is unlike that of any other known barrow of the period, and it is far more sophisticated than a simple burial tomb. The chambers, constructed with skill and care, were likely used for multiple interments over centuries. Evidence of these burials has been uncovered, including human bones, pottery fragments, and other grave goods, suggesting that this site was a place of both ceremonial and funerary importance. What truly sets Stony Littleton apart from other barrows, however, is its architectural layout. Unlike the straightforward linear arrangement of many long barrows, Stony Littleton is composed of a series of passages, niches, and alcoves, which create a maze-like interior. It is this unusual design that has captured the imagination of archaeologists and historians. Why was this site constructed with such complexity? What role did it play in the ritual life of the people who built it? And perhaps most tantalizing of all, why does the design of this barrow seem to suggest more than just a burial site, but a portal between the living and the dead? The most striking feature of the barrow structure is the alignment of the passageways. Some archaeologists speculate that the orientation of the tomb may be aligned with the sun, or with specific astronomical events. The entrance itself faces westward, a direction that often symbolized death and the afterlife in ancient cultures. The fact that this barrow is carefully constructed with an awareness of solar and lunar movements suggests that it may have been used for more than just burial. Could it have been a place of ritual, where the passage of the seasons and the movement of the sun were honored? Was it used for ceremonies that marked the transition of the soul from the mortal world to the next? Or was it simply a burial place, and its peculiar design merely the product of an aesthetic preference or religious tradition? Theories abound about the meaning behind the construction of Stony Littleton Long Barrow. The most widely accepted explanation is that it was a site for communal burials, where members of a particular clan or tribe were interred together. Its intricate passages and chambers might have been designed to allow the spirits of the dead to pass into the afterlife, a reflection of the belief in a journey beyond this world. The dead were, after all, important members of society who needed to be honored, and their passage to the next life may have been seen as a transition that required careful ritual. But there are also fringe theories that suggest a deeper, perhaps more mysterious purpose for the Long Barrow. Some have suggested that the structure's unusual design may have had symbolic or even supernatural significance. The fact that the barrow contains multiple chambers, which are far more complex than the typical long barrow of the time, has led some researchers to speculate that it may have been built as a site for ancestor worship, or as a place for more complex rituals involving death, rebirth, or even communication with the spirits. Could this barrow have been seen as a kind of sacred portal, a space where the boundaries between the living and the dead were blurred? The design and the evidence suggest that it was more than just a place for burial. It may have been a space where the forces of the natural and supernatural worlds came together in a powerful, sacred way. Additionally, the human remains found in Stony Littleton have led to further speculation. The bones recovered from the barrow suggest that it was used for multiple generations of burials, and the fact that the bodies were often placed in a crouched position points to a possible belief in the cyclical nature of life and death. The crouched posture could symbolize a return to the fetal state, implying that the dead were returning to a primordial, womb-like existence before embarking on the next phase of their spiritual journey. Was this a recognition of the eternal cycle of life, or perhaps a belief in reincarnation, an understanding that death was merely a transition, not an end? The history of the site itself also adds to its mystique. The barrow was rediscovered in the 18th century and has since been excavated, revealing much of its structure and its contents. However, much of Stony Littleton remains unexplored. The burial chambers and the passageways have not been fully excavated, and many archaeologists believe that there may still be undiscovered niches or hidden chambers that could yield more information about the people who built this site and their religious practices. What might still lie buried under the earth, hidden in the dark corners of the barrow? Could there be more artifacts, bones, or inscriptions that could reveal the true purpose of Stony Littleton? Furthermore, the mysteries surrounding the site are compounded by the fact that long barrows like Stony Littleton are relatively rare, and those that do exist are often surrounded by an aura of intrigue. Was Stony Littleton part of a wider network of sacred sites, connected by rituals or beliefs that spanned the landscape of ancient Britain? Did its construction represent a shared cosmological understanding? And what can we learn from these otherworldly designs about the ways in which our ancestors viewed death and the afterlife? As we stand before the ancient stone walls of Stony Littleton, it is easy to imagine what the people who built it might have felt. The long barrow, its stone walls weathered by centuries, has witnessed countless sunrises and sunsets, yet its secrets remain largely untold. What beliefs and practices lay behind its complex structure? What rituals were performed within its dark, winding passages? And most haunting of all, what did those who were interred within its chambers believe about the journey that lay beyond death? The mystery of Stony Littleton Long Barrow remains, like so many ancient sites, tantalizingly elusive. Though we have uncovered much, the true purpose of this sacred space may never be fully understood. And perhaps, in the end, that is the most enduring mystery of all. What hidden truths does this ancient monument still hold, waiting to be revealed in the quiet, steady flow of time? As we leave behind the quiet mysteries of Stony Littleton, we travel southward to the sun-drenched hills of Sardinia, where a different kind of ancient enigma beckons. Here, nestled among the rugged hills and dense forests, stands Monte Baranta, a site that has long intrigued archaeologists and historians. Unlike the familiar stone megaliths of Britain or the intricate ceremonial centers of Mesoamerica, Monte Baranta presents an altogether different puzzle, one that invites us to question the relationship between humans, the land, and the supernatural. Monte Baranta, a massive archaeological site located in the northern part of Sardinia, is a place where the past seems to seep through the earth itself. At first glance, it appears to be little more than a series of stone formations scattered across the landscape, almost as though nature itself has conspired to bury its ancient secrets beneath a thick layer of soil. But a closer look reveals the quiet complexity of the site: stone structures, chambers, and mysterious megalithic features that stretch back thousands of years. The site is part of a larger network of ancient ruins on Sardinia, dating back to the Bronze Age, and it bears many similarities to other megalithic sites across the Mediterranean. Yet, it is the peculiarities of Monte Baranta that make it stand out, raising questions that remain largely unanswered. At the heart of the site is a series of large stone slabs arranged in a circular formation, thought to be part of a more extensive settlement or ceremonial complex. These stones, some of which are large enough to require significant effort to move, have been placed with great precision. The overall arrangement is not random but seems to follow a pattern, though its purpose remains unclear. It is not the largest megalithic site on the island, but the careful positioning of the stones and the large open spaces between them suggest that it may have served a particular ritualistic or ceremonial function. Could it have been a sacred site where early Sardinians gathered for spiritual rites? Or, perhaps, was it an observatory, a place where ancient peoples studied the stars and the passage of time? The exact origins of Monte Baranta remain a subject of much debate. The site is often associated with the Nuragic civilization, a mysterious Bronze Age culture that flourished on Sardinia from around 1800 BC to 500 BC. The Nuragic people are known for their striking and enigmatic stone towers, known as nuraghi, which dot the Sardinian landscape. These towers, built from massive stones without the use of mortar, are thought to have been used as defensive structures, homes, or temples. While the precise function of these towers remains elusive, they are a testament to the advanced engineering skills of the Nuragic people. The connection between Monte Baranta and the Nuragic culture is, therefore, not just a matter of geography, but one of historical continuity. Yet the peculiarities of this site challenge our understanding of the civilization. There is something distinctly unusual about the layout of the stones at Monte Baranta. The large slabs, many of which are arranged in circles or lines, may represent a deliberate attempt to align the site with celestial events. Some scholars believe that the placement of the stones may have been designed to mark certain astronomical phenomena, such as the solstices or equinoxes. The layout, with its openness and precise alignment, could have functioned as a kind of calendar, a way for the ancient people to track the movements of the sun, moon, and stars. Could Monte Baranta have been an ancient observatory, like the famed Stonehenge in England, where the heavens were not only observed but worshipped? Or was it a ceremonial space where the rhythms of nature were celebrated in rituals designed to connect the earthly and the divine? However, not all theories about Monte Baranta are so straightforward. Some have suggested that the site could have been a form of sacred landscape, a place where the boundaries between the human world and the world of spirits were blurred. The large stones themselves may have held symbolic meaning, representing deities, ancestors, or powerful forces in nature. In ancient times, stones were often seen as living entities, imbued with spiritual significance. The act of placing large stones in the landscape might have been an attempt to anchor the power of the natural world in a form that could be manipulated by human hands. Could the site have been built to channel energy, to act as a kind of spiritual power station, where the forces of the earth were harnessed for the benefit of the people who built it? Or was Monte Baranta a place where the spirits of the ancestors were called upon for protection, prosperity, or guidance? What further deepens the mystery of Monte Baranta is the relative lack of information about the people who built it. The Nuragic civilization left behind few written records, and much of what we know about their culture comes from their stone structures, such as the Nuragi towers and the sacred wells, some of which are found near Monte Baranta. The art and material culture of the Nuragic people also remain scarce. This lack of written documentation, combined with the enigmatic nature of the site itself, leaves us with more questions than answers. Did the people of Monte Baranta follow a religious practice similar to other Mediterranean civilizations, or did they have their own unique belief system that remains completely hidden from us? Was Monte Baranta a place of worship, or was it a complex ritual site designed not just to honor the gods, but to manipulate forces beyond human comprehension? Even the burial practices in the region provide further intrigue. The nearby Nuragic tombs often contain remains of individuals arranged in a variety of positions, some of which suggest elaborate burial rites. The dead were often buried with personal items, tools, and ornaments, perhaps to accompany them on their journey to the afterlife. Could Monte Baranta have served as a place of both the living and the dead, a space where ancestors were not only remembered but actively called upon to participate in the life of the community? The connection between death, the supernatural, and the land itself is a theme that runs through many ancient cultures, and Monte Baranta might offer us a glimpse into how the Nuragic people viewed this relationship. Despite numerous excavations and studies, much of Monte Baranta remains hidden beneath the earth. The site has been excavated only partially, and many of its features remain unexplored. Could there be hidden chambers or deeper stone formations buried beneath the soil? Some researchers speculate that the full extent of the site has yet to be discovered. What if there are cryptic carvings, burial sites, or hidden artifacts buried deep within the complex? The very layout of the site, its sprawling stones and unusual formations, suggests that Monte Baranta may hold more secrets than we can currently imagine. Perhaps the most intriguing aspect of Monte Baranta, however, is the sense that it is a place in between, a place that lies at the intersection of the known and the unknown, where time itself seems to stand still. The stones of Monte Baranta may have been erected thousands of years ago, but they remain as a reminder of the mystery that still surrounds the ancient world. The purpose of the site, its true meaning, and the beliefs of the people who created it are still hidden from us, preserved in the silence of the Sardinian hills. As we gaze upon the stones of Monte Baranta, we are reminded that some mysteries remain, not because we are unable to understand them, but because they are meant to remain unanswered. For now. What else might be buried beneath the surface? What deeper meanings might lie hidden in the stone, waiting for the right moment to be revealed? And perhaps, most profoundly, what was the purpose of this place, and how did the people who built it understand their connection to the world around them? The answers, like the stones themselves, may remain just out of reach, but the questions they raise continue to stir our curiosity, beckoning us to look deeper into the past. As we leave behind the rugged hills and ancient stonework of Monte Baranta, we turn our attention once more to Sardinia, an island steeped in mystery and untold stories. Here, hidden beneath the dry, golden landscape, lies another enigma that dates back thousands of years: the necropolis of Anghelu Ruju. Unlike the grandiose megaliths or towering nuraghi that dot the island, this burial site is subtle, almost secretive in its quiet presence. Yet, what it holds beneath its stony exterior is anything but simple. The necropolis of Anghelu Ruju, with its network of cave tombs and eerie rock-cut chambers, presents a window into a lost world, a place where death and ritual were intimately tied together. The necropolis, nestled just outside the modern town of Alghero in the northern part of the island, is not one single monument, but a sprawling, multi-chambered site that stretches across a gentle hillside. It is made up of over 30 rock-cut tombs, each meticulously carved into the limestone, forming a labyrinth of passageways and burial chambers. From a distance, the site looks deceptively calm, just another stretch of Sardinian countryside, where the only sounds are the whispers of the wind through the scrubby vegetation. But as you approach, the tombs begin to reveal their secrets, their entrances barely visible behind thick clusters of Mediterranean plants. At the heart of Anghelu Ruju, the tombs are not simply holes in the rock. They are intricately designed burial chambers, with passages leading to larger rooms, some containing multiple burial spaces. The walls of these tombs, carved into the natural rock, bear evidence of the labor-intensive effort required to create them. These were not hurriedly dug graves, but deliberately constructed tombs, likely the final resting place of a significant community, one that valued the afterlife as much as the world of the living. What remains inside, scattered bones, pottery fragments, and traces of ancient offerings, speaks to the rituals that accompanied death, suggesting a belief in life after death and the continuity of the soul. The tombs themselves are often shaped like small rectangular rooms or simple corridors, and some are large enough to accommodate several individuals, laid to rest in a crouched position, a common burial practice among the Nuragic people. The remains found within the tombs are generally incomplete, but they tell a story of an ancient society that prepared the dead for a journey to the next world, carefully placing grave goods beside them: pottery, jewelry, tools, items meant to accompany the deceased in their passage. But it is not just the material remains that intrigue us. It is the very design of the tombs, which suggest a deliberate intent to create a space that was not merely functional, but spiritual in nature. One of the most striking features of Anghelu Ruju is its highly organized layout, which sets it apart from other Nuragic tombs on the island. The tombs are arranged in small clusters, with each cluster seemingly oriented toward a common axis or direction. The way the chambers are interconnected and the positioning of the tombs suggest that the site may have had a specific ritual function, with different tombs reserved for different family members or social groups. The focus on orientation, on directionality, suggests that the people who built Anghelu Ruju may have had a complex understanding of the cosmos, perhaps using the site to align with celestial events, or even marking the passage of time with particular seasonal changes. Could this necropolis have served as more than just a burial site? Was it a place for rituals that marked the passage of souls, a sacred threshold between the living and the dead? Despite the relatively straightforward nature of the tombs, the site is far from fully understood. The necropolis was discovered in the early 20th century, and excavation has continued sporadically since then. Still, much of the site remains unexplored, buried beneath centuries of earth, waiting to reveal more of its hidden truths. What remains concealed in the tombs of Anghelu Ruju? Some scholars believe there may be other tombs or chambers buried deeper within the hillside, waiting for future generations of archaeologists to uncover. Could there be further relics, carvings, or inscriptions hidden within the walls of these chambers, clues that could unlock more of the mystery surrounding this ancient burial site? What makes the necropolis of Anghelu Ruju particularly intriguing is the scarcity of written records that can explain its full significance. The Nuragic civilization, which is thought to have constructed the necropolis, left behind few written documents, and much of what we know about them is based on archaeological remains. What we do know is that the Nuragic people, who thrived on Sardinia for over 1,000 years, were not only skilled engineers and builders, but also had a rich spiritual and cultural life. Their society was centered around large, fortified stone towers called nuragi, which have been found scattered across the island. These towers, along with the burial sites like Anghelu Ruju, suggest a people who were deeply connected to their land, their ancestors, and the forces of nature. However, there are elements of the necropolis that defy easy interpretation. The placement of certain tombs, for example, seems to align with certain natural features of the landscape: hills, rock formations, and other geographical markers that could have held symbolic or spiritual significance. Some researchers have speculated that the tombs themselves may have been intended to reflect the shape of the natural world around them, mimicking the caves and other formations that the Nuragic people may have regarded as sacred. Others suggest that the necropolis could have been a place of pilgrimage, a central point where various tribes or communities gathered for ritualistic purposes, including ancestor worship or seasonal celebrations. Equally mysterious is the nature of the objects found in the tombs. While pottery and jewelry are commonly unearthed, the lack of more elaborate artifacts leaves us to wonder about the spiritual practices of the people who built the necropolis. What were the tombs meant to signify beyond their use as burial sites? Were they intended as places where the living could commune with the dead, or perhaps where the deceased could pass into the afterlife? Some believe that the placement of certain grave goods, such as symbolic offerings or tools, may hint at complex rituals that took place here, possibly involving the manipulation of spiritual forces or the belief that the dead had an ongoing role in the lives of the living. One particularly curious feature of Anghelu Ruju is the presence of skeletal remains showing signs of possible ritualistic treatment. Some bones have been arranged in ways that suggest they were not simply left in the tomb, but had been moved, perhaps as part of a greater ceremonial practice. Could this suggest a belief in reincarnation, or a desire to keep the spirits of the dead closely tied to the living? The nature of these practices remains elusive, but the evidence suggests that Anghelu Ruju was more than just a necropolis. It was a site where the very boundaries between life and death were constantly negotiated. The questions that surround the necropolis of Anghelu Ruju remain unanswered. Despite decades of archaeological study, the full significance of the site remains hidden in the shadows of its tombs. Was it simply a burial ground for a society that revered their ancestors? Or was it a place where powerful, complex rituals took place? Rituals that were designed to influence the world beyond the grave. And perhaps the most haunting question of all, what else lies buried beneath the earth at Anghelu Ruju? What remains to be discovered in this quiet, yet profoundly significant corner of Sardinia? As we stand before the tombs of Anghelu Ruju, we are reminded that some mysteries are not easily solved. The site, with its stone chambers and eerie silence, continues to hold its secrets, waiting for the right moment, or the right discovery, to reveal more about the ancient culture that once worshipped here. The dead, it seems, may not have entirely left. As we move forward from the enigmatic tombs of Anghelu Ruju, we find ourselves once again drawn to the mist-covered landscapes of ancient Europe, where another great mystery lies nestled in the verdant forests of Brittany, France. Here, in a tranquil and isolated part of the French countryside, we encounter one of the most extraordinary megalithic sites in all of Europe, the Dolmen de la Roche-aux-Fées, a structure that, like so many other ancient monuments, continues to provoke awe, wonder, and perplexity. The Dolmen de la Roche-aux-Fées stands in stark contrast to the modern world that now surrounds it. The site is tucked away, hidden in the shadows of dense trees, where only the soft rustling of leaves and the distant calls of birds disturb the quiet. The dolmen is an immense stone structure, which, when first encountered, appears almost as though it is a natural part of the landscape, as though the earth itself has grown around it. Its sheer size is awe-inspiring. A row of massive stones, each weighing several tons, forms a long rectangular chamber with a vast capstone resting atop, creating a tomb-like structure. It stretches 20 meters in length, and the stones that form it are massive, each one a testament to the labor and determination of the people who erected it. The dolmen's name, Roche-aux-Fées, translates to Stone of the Fairies, a name steeped in local legend and folklore. The term fairies is a symbolic link to the belief that these ancient structures were not just places for the dead, but were once thought to be the domain of the supernatural. For centuries, locals have whispered stories of mystical beings and fairy folk who were believed to reside in or around the dolmen, a theme that weaves its way through many megalithic sites around the world. But what were the true intentions of the people who constructed such a monumental tomb, and what purpose did the dolmen serve? Archaeological evidence suggests that the Dolmen de la Roche-aux-Fées was built during the Neolithic period, roughly 5000 BC to 3000 BC, a time when societies were shifting from nomadic lifestyles to settled agricultural ones. In this era, megalithic structures like dolmens, which are large stone-built tombs, began to emerge as a way of honoring the dead, marking important social rituals, or even connecting the community to the cosmos itself. The people who constructed this dolmen were likely skilled in stonework and had a profound understanding of the landscape and its significance. However, what sets the Dolmen de la Roche-aux-Fées apart from other similar structures is the precision with which it was built. The stones that form the dolmen are not only immense in size but are also meticulously arranged, with remarkable care given to their positioning. The capstone alone, which sits at the top of the chamber, is an extraordinary feat of engineering. Weighing over 40 tons, it has remained in place for millennia, suggesting that the builders possessed an impressive understanding of both geometry and structural stability. But how did they move such enormous stones? Did they have access to advanced techniques or tools that we have yet to uncover? Or were they able to harness forces we can only begin to understand? Some researchers even speculate that the dolmen was constructed with the help of primitive but highly effective methods of leveraging and rolling stones, but the true answer remains elusive. The layout of the Dolmen de la Roche-aux-Fées is another feature that stands out. The alignment of the stones is believed to have a connection to the solar and lunar cycles. Like many other ancient megalithic structures, the dolmen could have been designed to mark specific astronomical events, such as solstices or equinoxes. The orientation of the dolmen's entrance, facing east, could have been aligned with the rising sun on significant dates, linking the site to the movement of the heavens. If this was the case, it would suggest that the builders had not only an intimate knowledge of the seasons, but also a spiritual connection to the celestial bodies. Was the dolmen simply a tomb, or did it serve as a ceremonial space where people gathered to celebrate the cycles of life, death, and rebirth, as marked by the cosmos? However, while these explanations seem plausible, there is still a great deal about the dolmen that defies conventional understanding. There is no clear indication of what specific rituals were performed at the site, nor do we have detailed records of how it was used. The lack of archaeological evidence inside the dolmen itself is puzzling. Unlike other burial sites, where grave goods and offerings are commonly found, the Roche-aux-Fées dolmen contains no such artifacts. This absence raises more questions than answers. Was the tomb left empty to preserve the sanctity of the site? Or was the burial ritual itself different from other known practices? Some theorists suggest that the dolmen was never intended to be a tomb at all, but rather a site for communal gatherings or astronomical observations. Was it a place where the living came to commune with the dead, or was it meant to mark a sacred space where the boundary between the material world and the spirit world was thin? The folklore surrounding the site also adds to its mystery. Locals have long believed that the dolmen was constructed by fairies or supernatural beings, suggesting that, in their eyes, the structure held a power far beyond that of mere mortals. One of the most famous legends involves the story of a group of fairies who were turned to stone by a local priest. This tale, like many others surrounding ancient megalithic sites, suggests that the dolmen was viewed as a place of power, where the physical and spiritual worlds might collide. Such legends, though dismissed by modern archaeology, reveal something about the way ancient peoples interacted with their environment, seeing their surroundings as imbued with mystical forces. Could these stories be a reflection of the real significance of the dolmen, a sacred and powerful place that transcended the ordinary realm? Despite all the theories and speculations, the true purpose of the Dolmen de la Roche-aux-Fées remains elusive. Was it a tomb, an observatory, or a site for powerful rituals? Perhaps it was all of these things, and more, something beyond our current understanding. The precision of its construction, the alignment with the celestial bodies, and the deep-rooted legends that surround it all point to a purpose far more complex than what the surface reveals. What was it that the people who built the dolmen were trying to communicate with the stone? Was it a simple connection to the dead, or did it represent something more cosmic, something eternal? As we stand before this immense structure, we are reminded that there is much about our ancient ancestors that we have yet to understand. The stones of the Dolmen de la Roche-aux-Fées, like so many other megalithic monuments, hold their secrets close, waiting for the right moment to reveal the truths they have guarded for millennia. Could there be more buried beneath the surface, hidden chambers or inscriptions yet to be discovered? What mysteries of ancient knowledge still lie dormant within these stones? As the sun rises and sets over the site, we are left to wonder just how much the past still has to teach us, if only we could unlock the secrets of places like the Dolmen de la Roche-aux-Fées. The answers, it seems, are still waiting to be found. As we move further across the rugged, windswept landscapes of ancient Europe, we find ourselves on the outer reaches of the Scottish Highlands, in the far-flung archipelago of the Outer Hebrides. Here, amidst the wild beauty of the Isle of Lewis, a striking and enigmatic structure rises from the earth, beckoning us with its ancient mystery. This is Dun Carloway, a broch that has long stood as a silent witness to the passage of time, its weathered stones telling a story of an era that remains shrouded in uncertainty and intrigue. Dun Carloway, a well-preserved broch, stands proudly on a small hilltop, commanding a sweeping view of the surrounding moorlands and the Atlantic Ocean beyond. The broch's location is strategic. Its towering walls not only provide a vantage point over the land, but also seem to hold an unspoken connection to the winds and waves that crash against the island's shores. Built entirely from dry stone masonry, the structure stands as a testament to the ingenuity of its builders, with its thick stone walls rising over 9 meters in height at their tallest point. The broch is nearly circular in shape, with a central chamber that opens to the elements through a single narrow entrance. This design, both functional and imposing, suggests that the broch was intended to be a fortress, a place of refuge or defense, but who exactly sought shelter within its walls remains a point of considerable debate. The broch is thought to have been constructed sometime between 500 BC and 200 BC during the Iron Age, when the people of the British Isles were developing more advanced stone-building techniques. The brochs, such as Dun Carloway, are unique to the northern parts of Scotland, and it is still unclear who the builders were, or more specifically, what drove them to create these enigmatic structures. Were they a response to the needs of a community seeking protection from invaders, or were they meant to serve as symbols of power, something to assert the strength of the people who built them? The purpose of these brooks remains open to interpretation. While some archaeologists believe that Dun Carloway may have functioned as a fortification, the evidence for this is not entirely conclusive. The structure is surrounded by a deep, defensive ditch, and the sheer height and thickness of its walls would have made it a formidable place to defend against attackers. But there is no clear indication of widespread destruction or siege, and few signs that it was ever used in battle. Instead, some researchers argue that Dun Carloway may have had a more ceremonial function. The brooks' position atop a hill, its sweeping views of the surrounding landscape, and its meticulously constructed interior suggest it could have been a focal point for ritual or gatherings, places where leaders came together to discuss matters of great importance, or where spiritual ceremonies were held to mark the passage of seasons or commemorate ancestors. Inside the broche, the architectural complexity only deepens the mystery. The central chamber is not just an open space, but a highly structured interior with several levels. A series of narrow passages and galleries, some of which are hidden beneath the floor, add to the intrigue. These inner chambers are so precisely designed that the building's walls curve gently inward as they rise, creating a towering, funnel-like effect. This design could have been intended to enhance the broche's structural integrity, allowing it to withstand harsh weather or even attacks. But the narrowness of the passageways, the deliberate gaps between the stones, and the secluded rooms deep within the structure suggest something more, a deeper layer of meaning. Some scholars have suggested that the broche's design, with its inner rooms and passages, may have had a symbolic or ritualistic purpose. Was this a place where the dead were honored, where ancestors were revered in a space designed to honor both the living and the spirits of the past? Or was the broche a place where the gods or supernatural forces were invoked, where rituals were performed to ensure protection and prosperity for the community? The lack of conclusive evidence complicates the answer, but it seems that the broche was not simply a utilitarian structure. It may have held greater significance, tied to ideas of identity, power, and spirituality. Interestingly, despite the seeming isolation of Dun Carloway, it is clear that the broche was not entirely disconnected from the broader world. The Outer Hebrides, though remote, were far from isolated. Trade and cultural exchange with the mainland were well established during the Iron Age, and it is likely that the builders of Dun Carloway were influenced by wider cultural trends, both in terms of architectural style and spiritual practices. The broche's strategic location, overlooking both land and sea, suggests that it was not only an important site for its immediate inhabitants, but also a landmark for those traveling to and from the island. Could it have served as a marker for sailors or traders? Or perhaps as a meeting point for different tribes or groups? As we stand before the massive stones of Dun Carloway, questions continue to linger in the air. What was the true purpose of the broche? Was it a place of defense, a sanctuary in times of danger? Or was it something more, a symbol of power, prestige, and mystery? The unanswered questions don't stop there. What did the people who built Dun Carloway believe? Did they see the broche as a living entity, a home for both the living and the dead? Or was it simply a shelter designed for protection? The more we uncover, the more complex the narrative becomes. One of the most haunting aspects of Dun Carloway is the fact that we may never fully understand its original purpose. We know that the broche stood as a symbol of power, strength, and ingenuity, but beyond that, its deeper meanings remain hidden. Perhaps the broche was intended to be a fortress against invaders, a place of refuge. Perhaps it was a spiritual site, a place where the living could commune with the dead or with the gods. The stone walls may be silent now, but they still hold a story, one that we may only catch fleeting glimpses of in the shadows. In the centuries since Dun Carloway was abandoned, its stones have weathered the storms and the salt air, slowly crumbling, yet remaining resolutely in place. There's a sense of permanence in the structure, but also an invitation to explore what lies beneath the surface, to ask the questions that remain unanswered. Why was it built with such care, such precision? And why, after so many centuries, does it still stand as an enduring mystery? Dun Carloway, with its quiet isolation and its enduring strength, invites us to look back through the mist of history. It asks us to consider the people who built it, the thoughts that shaped its walls, and the ancient rituals that may have taken place within its shadow. What mysteries remain locked behind those stone walls? What truths lie hidden, waiting for the right moment to be revealed? As we turn away from this ancient site, we are left with more questions than answers. But we are reminded once again that some stories are not meant to be fully understood, at least not yet. As we leave behind the wind-swept shores of the Outer Hebrides and journey further into the quiet corners of ancient Europe, we now find ourselves in the heart of the Mediterranean, on the island of Cyprus. Here, nestled within a dramatic landscape of rugged hills and rocky outcrops, there exists a structure that has baffled archaeologists and historians for centuries, the Dolmen of Roknia. This megalithic site, hidden away in the tranquil hills of southern Cyprus, stands as a quiet sentinel to a distant past, its purpose and meaning still largely shrouded in mystery. The Dolmen of Roknia is not the largest or most famous of the island's ancient monuments, but its location and construction make it one of the most intriguing. Situated near the village of Semitis Menos, the dolmen is a burial structure composed of massive stone slabs arranged in a roughly circular formation. The dolmen's size is striking. The capstone, which rests atop the upright stones, weighs several tons, and the structure itself measures about 6 meters in diameter. The stonework is remarkable in its precision. Each stone is carefully positioned, and the entire structure has endured for millennia, despite the harsh elements and seismic activity that have shaped the island's history. The stones, weathered by time and the elements, are a testament to the skill of the people who crafted them. Yet, despite their imposing presence, they seem oddly out of place, standing in stark contrast to the surrounding landscape. What truly sets the Dolmen of Roknia apart, however, is not just its impressive construction, but the very fact that so little is known about the people who built it. Archaeological evidence suggests that the dolmen dates back to the late Neolithic period, around 2500 BC to 2000 BC. At this time, the island of Cyprus was inhabited by a number of different groups, each with their own customs, beliefs, and ways of life. The people who built the dolmen were likely part of the island's early agricultural societies, but beyond that, very little is known about their culture. Unlike other ancient sites, where detailed records or grave goods have been found, the Dolmen of Roknia offers few clues as to its purpose or the identity of its builders. One of the most puzzling aspects of the dolmen is the lack of any accompanying burial artifacts. In many other megalithic burial sites across Europe, archaeologists have uncovered a wealth of grave goods, tools, pottery, jewelry, and even human remains. Yet, at the Dolmen of Roknia, no such items have been found. Some have speculated that the dolmen was never used for burial at all, but instead served some other, as yet unidentified, purpose. Could it have been a place of ritual or ceremony? Perhaps it was a site for communal gatherings, where the people of the region came together for spiritual or social reasons. The absence of burial goods only deepens the mystery. Was this a burial site that was left deliberately unmarked, or was it never intended to hold the dead at all? The architectural design of the Dolmen of Roknia also raises intriguing questions. The stones themselves are not only large but are arranged in such a way that suggests a deep understanding of engineering and geometry. The capstone, which weighs several tons, is perfectly balanced atop the upright stones, and the entire structure has stood the test of time. The precision with which the dolmen was constructed suggests that its builders had advanced knowledge of stoneworking techniques, as well as an intimate understanding of their environment. This raises the question, how did these ancient people, with their limited tools and resources, manage to create such a monumental structure? Did they possess knowledge or techniques that we have lost over the centuries? Or was there something more to their construction methods than we can currently comprehend? Some theories suggest that the dolmen may have been aligned with certain celestial events, such as the solstices or equinoxes, indicating that its builders had a deep interest in the cosmos and its influence on daily life. Like many other megalithic sites, the alignment of the stones may have been intentional, serving as a kind of ancient calendar or observatory. The dolmen's location, perched on a hilltop and surrounded by open space, could have made it an ideal place for observing the movements of the stars, the sun, and the moon. If this is true, it would imply that the people who built the dolmen possessed a sophisticated understanding of astronomy. Were they using the dolmen to mark important events in the natural world, or did it have a more spiritual significance, linking the cycles of nature with the cycles of life and death? Another theory, often discussed by those who study the more mystical aspects of ancient architecture, suggests that the Dolmen of Roknia may have been designed to act as a conduit between the earthly realm and the divine. Could it have been a portal, a place where the living could commune with the gods or the spirits of their ancestors? The presence of such a large and impressive stone structure, seemingly built for no practical reason, suggests that it may have served a more symbolic function, one that transcended the mere act of burial. If the dolmen was indeed a site for ritual or ceremony, what were the rituals performed there? And what, if anything, was the connection between the dolmen and the spiritual beliefs of the people who built it? Despite the many theories, one thing remains certain. The Dolmen of Roknia is a site of great mystery, one that continues to captivate the imagination of archaeologists, historians, and explorers. It is a reminder that, even in our modern age of technology and discovery, there are still places on Earth that elude our understanding. The dolmen, with its weathered stones and silent presence, holds secrets that may never be fully revealed. As we stand before the dolmen, contemplating its purpose and its place in the ancient world, we are reminded of the limits of our knowledge. What was it that inspired the people who built the Dolmen of Roknia? Was it a simple tomb, a place for the dead, or was it something more, a symbol of power, a site of spiritual significance, or even a tool for astronomical observation? The answers to these questions remain hidden, waiting for the right moment to be discovered. As we move away from the dolmen, the silence of the landscape feels almost palpable, as though the stones themselves are holding their secrets close. What other mysteries lie buried beneath the earth, waiting to be uncovered by those who dare to ask the questions that have been left unanswered for millennia? Perhaps in time, we will discover more. But for now, the Dolmen of Roknia stands as a quiet, enigmatic reminder of a distant past, one that continues to provoke awe and wonder, its true purpose still a mystery for those who seek to understand the forces that shaped our ancient world. As we leave the sun-drenched hills of Cyprus and continue our journey through the timeless landscapes of ancient Europe, we come upon one of the most mysterious and enigmatic monuments in the British Isles, the Dwarfie Stane, a colossal stone tomb tucked away in the remote Orkney Islands off the northern coast of Scotland. The site lies in an isolated valley, surrounded by windswept grasslands and craggy hills. The landscape is harsh, desolate, and yet strikingly beautiful, an environment that evokes a sense of raw, untamed history. Here, standing alone against the elements, the Dwarfie Stane stands as a testament to ancient craftsmanship, but also a puzzle that modern archaeologists have yet to solve. The Dwarfie Stane is unlike any other prehistoric site in Britain. It is a massive sandstone block, roughly 6 meters long, 2 meters wide, and 2 meters high, which has been hollowed out into a tomb-like chamber. The stone, weathered by centuries of wind and rain, has a raw, jagged exterior, yet the interior is smooth, carved with remarkable precision. Inside, the chamber is large enough to hold several individuals, though little remains of any human remains. The structure is unique not only because of its size, but because it is carved from a single monolithic stone, an impressive feat considering the tools available to ancient people. The tomb's design is simple but striking. A single entrance leads into the chamber, which is divided into 2 compartments. The walls and ceiling are smooth and carefully crafted, with a definite sense of purpose and intent. The stone itself appears to have been carefully selected and shaped by the builders, suggesting an advanced understanding of stoneworking techniques. However, despite its impressive craftsmanship, the Dwarfie Stane raises more questions than it answers. The most immediate mystery surrounding the Dwarfie Stane is its purpose. There are no written records from the time it was built, leaving us to speculate based on the available archaeological evidence. Some suggest that the structure is a burial chamber, built to house the remains of a high-ranking individual or perhaps a group. The size and grandeur of the tomb would seem to support this theory. However, no human remains have been found within the chamber, and the site's isolation, on a remote, wind-swept hillside, raises further questions. Was this a tomb, or was it meant for some other purpose entirely? One theory proposes that the Dwarfie Stane was a place of ritual or religious significance. The Orkney Islands were home to a sophisticated culture during the late Neolithic and early Bronze Ages, and the people who lived here are known to have built other remarkable stone structures, such as the renowned Skara Brae. Some researchers speculate that the Dwarfie Stane may have served as a ceremonial site, a place where the living could commune with the ancestors, or where certain rituals were performed to honor the gods. The idea that the tomb-like chamber might have been a place for ritual or offerings fits into a larger pattern of megalithic construction found throughout Europe, where stone structures often held symbolic or spiritual meaning beyond their practical use. Another intriguing theory is that the Dwarfie Stane may have been a spiritual portal. This idea stems from the belief that ancient cultures viewed certain stones as living entities imbued with power. Some researchers have drawn parallels between the Dwarfie Stane and other ancient megalithic sites where stones were used as symbols of passage or transformation. Could the tomb-like chamber have been seen as a place where the soul could move between worlds, perhaps facilitating the journey of the dead to the afterlife? The isolation of the Dwarfie Stane, far from any village or settlement, lends itself to this kind of speculation, suggesting that it may have been designed as a threshold, a place removed from the world of the living. There is also a more practical, yet equally fascinating theory that the Dwarfie Stane was built for some kind of communal activity, possibly as a refuge. The Orkney Islands, while beautiful, were not without their dangers. The islands were frequently subject to harsh weather, raids, and even warfare. The Dwarfie Stane could have served as a shelter, a place of temporary refuge in times of need. The fact that it is carved from a single stone, an impressive and robust structure, supports this theory. But if it were intended as a refuge, why was it constructed so far from any known settlements? Why carve it into such a massive stone only to leave it isolated on a remote hillside? These questions complicate any simple explanation, adding further layers to the mystery. Adding another layer to the enigma of the Dwarfie Stane is its name. Dwarfie refers to the local folklore that the tomb was built by dwarfs or giants, creatures often featured in ancient mythology. This connection between the tomb and folklore might hint at the cultural significance of the stone, and how it may have become embedded in the local mythos over generations. The idea that the Dwarfie Stane was constructed by supernatural beings suggests that the people who built it had a complex belief system, one that intertwined the physical and spiritual worlds. Could this structure, built from the earth itself, have been thought to hold some mystical connection to the forces of nature, the gods, or even to the giants and dwarfs of legend. Despite the many theories, the purpose of the Dwarfie Stane remains elusive. No one theory can fully account for the monument's design, its location, or the absence of any significant burial artifacts. Could it be that the truth about this mysterious stone tomb has been lost to the sands of time? Or are there still pieces of evidence yet to be uncovered that will shed light on its true purpose? In a sense, the mystery of the Dwarfie Stane lies not just in its physical structure, but in what it represents, the gap between what we know and what we will never know. Ancient monuments like the Dwarfie Stane have always held a special kind of allure for us. They are windows into a world that is both familiar and distant, a reminder that human creativity, belief, and curiosity have always been at the heart of our existence. And yet, as we look at the Dwarfie Stane, weathered by centuries, its secrets tightly locked within its stone walls, we are reminded that some mysteries may never be solved. As the wind howls across the Orkney Islands, the Dwarfie Stane stands silently, holding its secrets. Is it a tomb, a spiritual portal, a place of refuge, or something else entirely? We may never know for sure. But one thing is certain: the Dwarfie Stane, like so many other ancient sites, continues to captivate the imagination, drawing us into its mystery, and leaving us with the haunting question of what other secrets the stones might hold. Perhaps one day the answer will reveal itself, but for now, the Dwarfie Stane stands as an enduring enigma, its purpose still hidden, its story still untold. As we leave behind the rugged, windswept landscapes of the Orkney Islands and venture into the heart of northwestern France, we arrive at another monument that echoes the mysteries of the distant past, the Cairn of Barnenez. Situated on the peninsula of Pludalmaison in Brittany, the Cairn of Barnenez is one of the most extraordinary megalithic structures in Europe. Rising above the landscape, it stretches over 70 meters in length, and its large stone facade stands as a silent sentinel to a time long gone, holding within it secrets that continue to elude our understanding. The cairn itself is an impressive sight. Massive stone blocks carefully piled upon one another, forming a long, irregularly shaped mound that seems almost deliberate in its construction. As you approach the site, the sheer scale of the structure begins to sink in. It's difficult not to be struck by the sheer effort and organization required to construct such a monumental tomb without the advanced tools we have today. The size and arrangement of the stones hint at the coordinated effort of a large community, one capable of organizing labor and resources on a scale that would have been extraordinary for the time. And yet, despite its grandeur, the cairn is far from fully understood. Radiocarbon dating places the cairn's construction at around 4,500 BC to 4,000 BC, making it one of the oldest known megalithic structures in Europe. Its age alone is a striking reminder of the deep antiquity of the monument, far older than many of the other great megalithic structures like Stonehenge or the Pyramids of Giza. The Cairn of Barnenez predates written history, leaving behind no detailed records or inscriptions that might offer insight into its purpose. Instead, all we have are the stones themselves and the silence of the landscape around them. The cairn is divided into several chambers, some of which are still accessible, though their interiors have been weathered over thousands of years. These chambers are arranged along the length of the mound, and they are lined with massive stones, many of which are decorated with intricate carvings. These carvings, though worn by time, depict geometric patterns, and in some instances, shapes that could suggest human or animal forms. Some researchers have suggested that the carvings might have held symbolic significance, perhaps representing fertility, the cycle of life and death, or the relationship between the natural world and the divine. But the true meaning behind these symbols remains elusive. Were these carvings part of some ritual, a way of connecting with the gods, or perhaps a way of marking important celestial events. The most significant mystery surrounding the Cairn of Barnenez, however, is its function. What was it built for? The mainstream theory, backed by most archaeologists, is that it was a burial monument, one that served as the final resting place for important individuals or a community. Given the scale of the cairn and the level of effort involved in its construction, it seems likely that it was intended to serve as a collective tomb for a community, or perhaps a prominent family. Several human burials have been discovered within the cairn, and many of the chambers appear to have been designed to hold the dead. Yet, despite this, there are no clear markers or significant grave goods found within the cairn to indicate its use as a royal tomb, as one might expect with a structure of such size and complexity. This raises an intriguing question. Was the cairn meant for the dead, or was it perhaps a more symbolic monument with a function that went beyond burial? Another theory suggests that the cairn might have served as a ritual or ceremonial site. The ancient people who built it would have likely viewed death and the afterlife with a profound spiritual significance. Could the Cairn of Barnenez have been constructed to commemorate the dead, to house the spirits of the ancestors, or to mark some important milestone in the cycle of life? Some researchers argue that the cairn's design is not just about burial, but about creating a space for remembrance, or even for invoking the power of the ancestors. The size of the monument could have served as a visual representation of the status of the deceased, elevating them to a place of importance in the minds of the living. Beyond the question of function, there is the question of the people who built the cairn. Who were the builders of Barnenez, and what were their beliefs and practices? The megalithic culture that existed in Brittany at this time was highly sophisticated, with a deep understanding of stone construction and astronomical alignments. The presence of the carvings suggests that the builders may have had symbolic or spiritual motives that went beyond simple burial. But what of the people who organized the labor to construct the cairn? Who were they, and what did they believe? Were they a tribal society, led by a ruling elite, or a more egalitarian community with shared religious practices? The lack of written records from this time leaves us with little but speculation. Some fringe theories raise even more curious possibilities. There are those who suggest that the Cairn of Barnenez might have had a connection to celestial events. Given the alignment of other megalithic structures, such as Stonehenge, with the solstices and equinoxes, it's possible that the cairn was not just a burial site, but an astronomical observatory as well. Could the structure have been built to align with the movements of the sun or moon, marking important astronomical events such as the solstices, when the forces of nature were thought to be most powerful? If this were the case, the cairn could have been a place not just for the dead, but for the living to connect with the natural world and the cosmos. Another theory links the Cairn of Barnenez with other ancient burial sites throughout Europe, suggesting that it may have been part of a larger, coordinated system of megalithic monuments designed to unify people across vast distances. Were these cairns part of an ancient network of spiritual or cultural sites, linked by shared rituals, beliefs, or perhaps trade? Could the Cairn of Barnenez have been a central location for a wider, regional network of people who shared common practices, customs, or even a belief in a shared ancestral lineage? This theory would suggest that the builders of Barnenez were part of a broader cultural tradition, one that spanned much of Europe and was capable of unifying disparate groups through shared monuments and beliefs. However, despite these various theories, the true meaning of the Cairn of Barnenez remains elusive. Was it a burial monument, a site for ceremonial rituals, an astronomical observatory, or something else entirely? We can't say for certain. The lack of conclusive evidence only deepens the mystery, leaving us with more questions than answers. As we stand before the immense stone mound, contemplating its purpose, we are left with the humbling realization that much of our past remains hidden, and that some questions may never be fully answered. The Cairn of Barnenez, with its ancient stones and weathered carvings, holds secrets that are as much a part of the land as the sea winds that sweep across its surface. Its true purpose, the identity of its creators, and the reasons for its construction may remain forever buried in the past, just as the countless other megalithic monuments scattered across the world hold their own mysteries, waiting perhaps for the right moment in history to reveal themselves. Until that moment comes, we are left to wonder, what other ancient wonders lie hidden beneath the earth, their secrets waiting to be unearthed? And will we ever truly know the full story of the Cairn of Barnenez? Nestled on the windswept plains of County Sligo in the northwest of Ireland, the Creevykeel court tomb stands as a quiet sentinel to a long-forgotten age. The tomb itself is both impressive and enigmatic, a testament to the complex and highly organized society that once thrived here, yet its purpose and meaning remain shrouded in mystery. The Creevykeel court tomb is a large and well-preserved passage tomb, one of many scattered throughout Ireland and the broader British Isles. Its structure is characteristic of the Neolithic period, with a long passage leading into a central chamber. The passage, constructed of large, flat stones, leads the way through a stone-lined corridor toward the tomb's heart, an oval-shaped burial chamber. This chamber, encircled by a court of large stones, is thought to have been used for communal burials, though no significant artifacts or remains have been conclusively linked to a specific ritual or practice. The tomb's sheer scale is impressive, spanning over 20 meters in length and occupying a commanding view of the surrounding landscape. It's difficult not to wonder how such a structure could have been built using only the tools of the era. The stones themselves are enormous, some weighing as much as several tons, and they would have required immense effort to quarry, transport, and arrange. What is most striking about Creevykeel, however, is not just its size, but the way it integrates with the surrounding landscape. Positioned on a gentle rise in the land, the tomb overlooks the lush green hills of the region, with the vast expanse of Sligo Bay in the distance. It's easy to imagine the people who built it standing here, gazing out over the same view, contemplating both the spiritual significance of their creation and the unrelenting forces of nature that would shape the lives of their community. There's an undeniable sense that this tomb, like so many others in the Neolithic world, was meant to connect the living with the dead, and perhaps, in some profound way, with the cosmos itself. Built around 3500 BC, Creevykeel belongs to a class of monuments known as court tombs, a specific type of Neolithic tomb that was common in Ireland during this period. These tombs typically feature a central chamber surrounded by a stone court, and often include a long passage or corridor leading into the chamber. The tomb at Creevykeel is one of the largest of its kind, and, because of its relatively complete state, it has provided valuable insight into the practices of the people who constructed it. However, despite the best efforts of archaeologists, many questions remain. Who were these people, and why did they go to such extraordinary lengths to construct such a monument? What were the rituals or ceremonies conducted within this stone structure, and what did the tomb's design signify? These are questions that have perplexed historians and archaeologists for decades. The mainstream explanation for the function of the Creevykeel court tomb is that it served as a burial site. Burial chambers like this were commonly used for communal interment, and it's likely that the tomb housed the remains of several individuals, perhaps even generations of the same family or clan. The arrangement of the tomb suggests that it was designed not only for the deceased, but for those who came to honor them. The space surrounding the chamber, known as the court, could have been used for ritualistic gatherings, where members of the community would come to pay homage to the dead and possibly seek guidance from their ancestors. Some theorists suggest that the alignment of the tomb, with its long passage and its position relative to the surrounding landscape, may have had a specific astronomical or seasonal function, though this remains speculative. One of the most compelling aspects of the Creevykeel tomb is the way it blends burial practices with social organization. The sheer scale of the tomb and the effort required to build it suggest that its construction was not the work of a single individual or family, but rather a communal effort. The tomb, therefore, likely served as a focal point for the community, and it may have played a central role in the social and religious life of the Neolithic people who constructed it. The design of the tomb, with its large stone court, could indicate that the living and the dead were meant to exist in close connection, with the tomb acting as a bridge between these two worlds. However, despite the tomb's burial function, there are several unusual aspects that suggest there may have been more to its design and purpose than simple interment. For one, no significant artifacts or remains have been found within the tomb to support the idea that it was used as a royal or elite burial site. This raises the question: was the tomb really intended for the burial of important individuals, or was it instead a communal monument built to honor the dead of an entire society? Some have speculated that the tomb may have had a symbolic or ritual function beyond burial, perhaps relating to the seasonal cycles or celestial events. The alignment of the tomb, for example, may correspond to certain solar or lunar events, such as the solstices or equinoxes, suggesting that it may have been used as a place of astronomical observation or religious celebration. Was Creevykeel designed to mark important points in the year when the natural world and the cosmos were thought to be at their most powerful? The Neolithic people who built these tombs were likely keen observers of the heavens, and many megalithic structures are aligned with the movements of the sun, moon, and stars. It is possible that the Creevykeel tomb was not just a place of burial, but also a space where the living could come together to connect with the cycles of the natural world and the divine forces they believed governed it. Others have proposed more esoteric theories about the purpose of the tomb. Some suggest that Creevykeel, like other megalithic structures, may have served as a kind of portal between the world of the living and the realm of the dead. The long passage leading into the tomb could be symbolic of a journey or transition from one world to another, a liminal space where the boundaries between life and death are blurred. The presence of such an elaborate structure suggests that the Neolithic people believed that death was not an end, but rather a transformation, and that the tomb was a place where the deceased could be honored and remembered, but also where their spirits might continue to influence the living. Despite these various theories, the mystery of the Creevykeel court tomb remains unresolved. Was it primarily a burial site, or was it something more? A place of ritual, a celestial observatory, or a space where the living and the dead coexisted in a profound and spiritual way? The lack of definitive answers only deepens the mystery, but also adds to the allure of the site. The tomb at Creevykeel stands as a quiet witness to a time long past, its stones bearing the marks of countless generations. And while we may never fully understand its purpose or the people who built it, we are left with a profound sense of wonder at what this ancient structure might still be hiding, waiting for the right moment to reveal its secrets. As we leave the tomb behind, standing in the quiet expanse of the Sligo countryside, we are reminded that so many mysteries remain in our world. Creevykeel is but one of many ancient structures that continue to puzzle and inspire us. And as we continue our journey through time, one question lingers. What other ancient wonders, buried beneath layers of history, might we uncover next? As the wind sweeps across the rugged hills of Cornwall, a mysterious circle of stones stands quietly against the backdrop of the sky, a relic from a time long past. Known as the Merry Maidens, this ancient stone circle has long captivated the imaginations of those who come across it. At first glance, the stones appear deceptively simple, just a collection of upright rocks arranged in a circle, like so many other prehistoric sites scattered across the British Isles. Yet, as with most things from antiquity, the Merry Maidens hold secrets, and the answers to those secrets have yet to be fully revealed. The Merry Maidens are situated near the village of St. Buryan, on the southern coast of Cornwall, where the landscape is wild and unyielding. The circle itself consists of 19 stones, each roughly 1 meter tall, and arranged in a near-perfect ring. The arrangement is both striking and enigmatic. While it may appear to be a straightforward megalithic monument, the precise purpose behind its construction has eluded archaeologists for centuries. What's particularly intriguing about the Merry Maidens is the sense that this stone circle is far from ordinary. Like many megalithic structures, it is thought to have been constructed during the late Neolithic or early Bronze Age, around 1500 to 2000 BC, but the reasons behind its creation remain elusive. While the function of such circles is often thought to be tied to ritual, astronomy, or burial practices, the specifics of their purpose are far from clear. What's more puzzling is that, unlike many other stone circles, the Merry Maidens does not appear to have been used as a site for burial, nor does it align with any obvious astronomical markers, at least not in the way that other ancient sites, like Stonehenge, do. This raises an even more intriguing question. Why were these particular stones placed here, and why in this arrangement? To understand the mystery of the Merry Maidens, it's necessary to look at what we do know about the site. The stones themselves are made of local granite, a material that is both durable and easily accessible in this part of Cornwall. The arrangement forms a near-perfect circle, with the stones spaced evenly apart. However, it is the number of stones, 19, that stands out. In the ancient world, numbers often held symbolic significance, and 19 is a number that can be found in several other megalithic sites, leading some to wonder if there might be some hidden, esoteric meaning behind the choice of this specific number. Was 19 a sacred number to the people who constructed the Merry Maidens, or is it merely a coincidence? One of the most famous features of the Merry Maidens is its association with a local legend. According to folklore, the stones represent a group of young women who were turned to stone for dancing on the Sabbath. This tale, though seemingly whimsical, speaks to the broader theme of ritual and the supernatural that often surrounds ancient monuments. Did the people who built this stone circle view it as a place of sacred importance, where the line between the human world and the divine was thought to blur? Was this a place of worship, where dances and rituals were performed to honor the gods, or perhaps the spirits of the ancestors? In addition to the legend of the Maidens, there is also a fascinating alignment of the Merry Maidens with other ancient sites in the surrounding area. It is located close to a number of other megalithic structures, including the Boscawen Un stone circle, and it is thought that these monuments might have been part of a larger network of ceremonial or ritual spaces. What's more, the Merry Maidens lies in the shadow of the towering granite peaks of Carn Brea, a location with its own ancient history, suggesting that the site may have had some connection to the natural landscape. Could it be that the stone circle was deliberately placed to align with other features of the landscape, as was the case with other Neolithic structures designed to mark significant celestial events? As researchers have delved deeper into the history of the Merry Maidens, a range of theories has emerged, though none have been conclusively proven. Some suggest that the site could have been used for astronomical observations, with the stones possibly marking the movements of the sun or moon. The placement of the stones may have been intentional, aligning with key solar or lunar events, much like the famed stone circles of Avebury or Stonehenge. However, the lack of direct evidence linking the Merry Maidens to any particular celestial event has made it difficult to fully accept this theory. Others argue that the site could have served a more ceremonial or spiritual purpose. Some researchers speculate that it might have been used for seasonal rituals, marking the changing of the seasons or significant moments in the agricultural calendar. The stones themselves, standing tall and silent, seem to invite such interpretations. The idea of a ritual space that bridges the earthly and the spiritual realms is a common theme among Neolithic monuments. If the Merry Maidens were indeed a place for ritual, what kind of ceremonies might have been performed here? Could these rituals have been related to the worship of nature or the cycles of life, death, and rebirth? Another theory that has been proposed is that the Merry Maidens was a kind of symbolic or commemorative structure, perhaps a monument to a specific event or group of people. Some have suggested that the site could be connected to the ancient practice of ancestor worship, where the dead were honored in a physical space that marked their presence. In this theory, the 19 stones could represent individuals or generations, each one standing as a reminder of the deceased. Yet, no clear burial sites or remains have been found at the Merry Maidens, leaving this theory speculative at best. Despite these varied theories, there remains a great deal of uncertainty surrounding the true function of the Merry Maidens. The site, like so many other megalithic structures, offers more questions than answers. Its design, the number of stones, the associated myths, each of these elements invites further investigation, but none can definitively explain why the circle was built or what it was used for. What we do know is that the Merry Maidens stands as a testament to the ingenuity and creativity of the people who built it. The monument has withstood the test of time, enduring centuries of weather, erosion, and human activity. It continues to inspire awe and curiosity, offering a glimpse into a world that has long since passed, yet still beckons us to explore its secrets. As we stand before the Merry Maidens, we are reminded that ancient sites are not simply relics of the past. They are living mysteries that continue to speak to us, challenging us to look deeper, to ask more questions, and to embrace the unknown. In a world where so much is understood, there are still places where the answers remain hidden, just beyond our grasp. The Merry Maidens, with its circle of stones and its tangled web of myth and reality, remains one of those places, a silent enigma that invites us to wonder what else might still be waiting to be discovered beneath the stones, and what might we yet learn about the people who left it behind. Amid the vast, rolling hills of central Anatolia in modern-day Turkey lies Aşıklı Höyük, an ancient settlement that dates back more than 10,000 years. Its name, meaning lover's mound in Turkish, hints at a place that holds not only physical remnants of a bygone civilization, but also the mysteries and whispers of a long-forgotten past. Here, where the land slopes gently and the horizon stretches endlessly, archaeologists have unearthed some of the most compelling, enigmatic evidence of early human society ever discovered. Aşıklı Höyük is often hailed as one of the earliest examples of settled life in the region. The site, with its distinct layers of ancient habitation, offers a glimpse into a time when humanity was transitioning from a nomadic existence to a more sedentary lifestyle. The settlement itself, built around 8000 BC, is astonishingly well preserved, and as excavations continue, the site has become a beacon for understanding the dawn of urban living. Yet, despite the wealth of information we've gathered about its existence, the full significance of Aşıklı Höyük and the people who built it remains shrouded in mystery. Upon first glance, Aşıklı Höyük might appear like any other ancient mound, a patch of earth that holds the accumulated remains of countless generations. But this is no ordinary archaeological site. The discoveries made here have redefined what we thought we knew about the early Neolithic period, forcing scholars to reconsider the ways in which early humans interacted with the landscape and each other. Perhaps the most remarkable feature of Aşıklı Höyük is the construction of its buildings. Unlike the temporary shelters typical of early human settlements, the structures at Aşıklı Höyük are permanent, built using massive, carefully carved stone blocks. Some of these buildings were so large and so well constructed that they suggest a level of organization and communal effort that was previously thought to be impossible for this time period. The walls are adorned with intricate patterns, perhaps the earliest known examples of artistic expression on such a grand scale. What drove these early people to invest such immense time and energy into creating these monumental buildings? Was it a desire for permanence, a sense of community, or something else entirely? Among the most curious features of Aşıklı Höyük are the massive stone pillars that have been found in some of the buildings. These pillars, some of which are thought to weigh several tons, are arranged in patterns that suggest their importance in some sort of ritualistic or ceremonial context. The sheer size and complexity of these stone columns are unprecedented for the time, raising many questions. Were these pillars used in some form of religious observance, or were they symbols of power, perhaps even a form of early political or social hierarchy? The lack of written records from this period leaves these questions unanswered, and speculation fills the gaps. What's even more intriguing is that, unlike other sites from this period, Aşıklı Höyük does not appear to have been heavily fortified. The absence of defensive walls or fortifications suggests that the people who lived here did not fear constant invasion or attack, a surprising conclusion considering the instability of the ancient world. Was this a peaceful society, or were there other factors at play? Could the massive stone pillars and intricately designed buildings have been a form of symbolic defense, signaling strength and unity to any potential threat? The site also contains evidence of a rich, thriving community. Artifacts uncovered at Aşıklı Höyük point to a complex and diversified economy, with tools, pottery, and figurines indicative of both trade and craft. The discovery of animal bones, particularly those of cattle, hints at early domestication practices, while the appearance of grain storage suggests an early form of agriculture. These findings reveal a people not only capable of surviving, but thriving through innovation and adaptation. Yet, the artifacts also raise more questions. Why did these people choose to settle in this particular location? What role did their environment play in their development? Perhaps the most puzzling aspect of Aşıklı Höyük, however, is its mysterious ceremonial practices. The site contains what appears to be a ritualistic space that may have been used for gatherings, ceremonies, or offerings to the gods. Large basins, carved into the stone floors of some of the buildings, suggest that water or other materials were used in these rites. Some even speculate that the unusual arrangement of the stone pillars may have had a cosmic significance, perhaps marking the cycles of the sun or moon, or serving as a connection between the earth and the heavens. What exactly did these early people believe about the world around them, and how did their beliefs shape the physical structures they left behind? One particularly striking feature of Aşıklı Höyük is the carved stone figurines that have been uncovered, many of which depict anthropomorphic figures. These figurines are unlike anything else from this period, and their meaning is the subject of much debate. Some suggest that these figurines were used in rituals of fertility or agriculture, while others argue that they may have been symbolic representations of deities, ancestors, or spirits. The varied and often abstract designs of the figurines add another layer of complexity to the mystery of Aşıklı Höyük. Were these objects intended to represent a particular belief system, or were they part of a more personal connection to the divine? Beyond these tangible artifacts, Aşıklı Höyük also sparks questions about the broader context of its time. The site's remarkable level of sophistication challenges long-standing assumptions about the capabilities of early Neolithic societies. How were these people able to accomplish so much without the technologies that would later define advanced civilizations? Were they guided by knowledge passed down through generations, or did they discover something new and unique in their environment that allowed them to flourish? For many, Aşıklı Höyük offers a glimpse into the mysteries of early human civilization. Its significance, however, extends far beyond the physical site itself. It beckons us to ask larger questions about human nature and our capacity to adapt, innovate, and create meaning in a world that often seemed beyond our control. What did the people of Aşıklı Höyük believe? What drove them to build such remarkable structures? And why did they leave behind so many enigmatic symbols and rituals? And, perhaps most importantly, what have we yet to uncover about this mysterious site, waiting just beneath the earth? As the years go by, the layers of history at Aşıklı Höyük continue to reveal themselves. But still, many of its secrets remain locked away, awaiting discovery. What more could the site reveal about the earliest days of human settlement? And what does it tell us about the roots of our shared human story? In the end, Aşıklı Höyük remains a powerful reminder of the vast, untapped potential of archaeology and the many mysteries of our past that continue to haunt us, inviting further exploration. Nestled in the remote Andean highlands of southern Peru, far from the bustling crowds of more well-known archaeological sites, lies a puzzling and mysterious location, the Sayhuite stone labyrinth. Hidden among the rocky outcrops, perched at an elevation of over 3,300 meters, this enigmatic site has fascinated archaeologists and historians for decades. Although it might not have the same level of recognition as Machu Picchu, its sheer complexity and the unanswered questions surrounding it make it no less remarkable. The Sayhuite complex stretches over several acres and is composed of a series of stone structures, channels, and intricate carvings. What sets this site apart from others in the region, however, is the labyrinthine system of water channels and terraces. These stone pathways, adorned with strange and cryptic symbols, twist and wind their way through the site in a precise and deliberate manner. But what is truly curious about Sayhuite is the way these channels are designed. Unlike anything else discovered in the Andes, they seem to form a sophisticated network, as if intended to control the flow of water in ways that are not immediately obvious. Was this a form of irrigation, or did it serve a more symbolic or ritualistic purpose? The truth remains elusive. At the heart of Sayhuite is the main plaza, a large open area surrounded by various platforms, walls, and fountains. Here, stone water basins and springs are embedded into the structures, suggesting that water played a central role in the design and function of the site. Interestingly, the way these basins are connected to the network of channels implies a deliberate management of water. But for what purpose? Some archaeologists speculate that the site may have functioned as an advanced irrigation system, possibly allowing the residents of Sayhuite to control the flow of water across the high-altitude desert landscape. Others argue that this water system was part of something far more profound, perhaps linked to religious rituals or astronomical observances. One of the most striking features of the Sayhuite stone labyrinth is the array of carved stone figures found scattered throughout the site. These carvings, which resemble anthropomorphic figures and various animal depictions, suggest that the creators of Sayhuite may have had a deeply symbolic connection to the landscape. Some carvings appear to represent water gods or spiritual beings, while others are far more abstract, hinting at a belief system that we are still only beginning to comprehend. The presence of these carvings leads us to wonder whether the site was not only a practical space for managing water, but also a spiritual or ceremonial center where water held divine significance. What's even more perplexing is the lack of clear historical records or written language at the site. Unlike other ancient cultures in the Andes, such as the Nazca or Inca, the people who built Sayhuite left behind no decipherable texts, no inscriptions that could explain their purpose or beliefs. This silence leaves room for endless speculation. How could a society so skilled in water management leave so few clues behind about their methods or motivations? Perhaps the most extraordinary and yet most debated aspect of Sayhuite is its hydraulic technology. The water channels found at the site appear to be part of a highly advanced hydraulic system, with complex siphons, filters, and even valves that seem to regulate water flow with incredible precision. Some of these systems are so sophisticated that they have led some researchers to speculate that the builders of Sayhuite may have had knowledge of hydraulic engineering far beyond what we thought was possible for a civilization of this period. The channels are designed in such a way that water appears to flow uphill at certain points, an optical illusion that remains inexplicable given the technology of the time. How did they accomplish this? Was it a fluke of nature, or did they have techniques that we have yet to rediscover? The most famous feature of the site is the fountain system, a large stone structure designed to channel water in a way that makes it appear as though the water is defying gravity. Some of these fountains seem to have been built specifically to produce a series of geometric patterns as water flows through them. Did this have practical implications, such as ritualistic purification or water-based ceremonies? Or could these fountains have been designed to simulate natural phenomena, such as rain or the flow of rivers, in a place where such water sources were scarce? One of the more speculative ideas surrounding Sayhuite involves its connection to the astronomical calendar. Some scholars have suggested that the placement of the stone carvings and water channels may have been intentionally designed to align with the movements of celestial bodies, such as the sun, moon, and stars. The precision with which the channels redirect water and the complex patterns of the carvings hint at a possible relationship between the architecture and celestial events, such as solstices or eclipses. Could the Sayhuite complex have functioned as a sort of observatory, with water serving as both a practical and symbolic tool to mark the passage of time or align with cosmic events? Another compelling theory posits that Sayhuite was used in rituals of fertility or agricultural abundance. Water, after all, has been a symbol of life and growth in many ancient cultures, and the presence of such an elaborate water system might indicate that the site was meant to invoke the gods to ensure the prosperity of crops in an otherwise arid region. Was this site a sacred water temple, where rituals were performed to honor deities of the water, earth, or fertility? The absence of direct evidence linking the site to any particular deity or culture makes this theory difficult to prove, but the evidence of symbolic carvings and the intricate waterworks points in that direction. Then, there is the idea that the Sayhuite stone labyrinth may have been a ritual maze, where the water channels formed paths that mimicked the journey of life or the journey to the afterlife. Could these labyrinthine pathways have been a metaphor for the challenges and obstacles faced by those who sought spiritual enlightenment? Could the water's flow, from one basin to another, represent the passage of the soul through different stages of existence? As we consider the many theories surrounding Sayhuite, we are reminded of how little we truly know about this remarkable site. The lack of written records, the absence of clear cultural ties, and the complexity of the water systems all raise more questions than answers. The Sayhuite stone labyrinth stands as a silent witness to a past we are still trying to piece together, a reminder that even in our age of scientific discovery, the ancient world still holds secrets that are beyond our full understanding. Perhaps, like the water that still flows through the channels of Sayhuite, the answers are just beyond our reach, waiting for the next breakthrough in archaeology to bring them to light. And perhaps, as we continue to explore this extraordinary site, we will come closer to understanding not only how the builders of Sayhuite managed water, but why they placed such profound importance on it, and how they may have seen the forces of nature as part of a larger cosmic design. Until then, the mystery of Sayhuite remains, drawing us in, compelling us to wonder, what more could this strange labyrinth still reveal about the forgotten people who built it? Hidden amidst the dense forests of central Bosnia, near the town of Visoko, stands a cluster of hills that have become the focus of one of the most controversial archaeological sites of the 21st century. For centuries, these hills had been viewed as nothing more than natural formations, lush, green mounds scattered across the landscape. But in the early 2000s, an unusual claim began to surface, that these mounds, which came to be known as the Bosnian Pyramids, were not natural at all. Instead, they were the remnants of an ancient, lost civilization that had built massive pyramids over 12,000 years ago. The Vysochika Hill, the largest and most prominent of these formations, stands at the center of this mystery. Its steep, terraced sides rise sharply from the surrounding valley, giving it the unmistakable shape of a pyramid. From a distance, it resembles the silhouette of Egypt's famous Great Pyramid of Giza, though the area surrounding it has never been as widely recognized for archaeological significance. As researchers from around the world began to investigate the site, they discovered a series of striking features. Large blocks of stone, geometrically cut and arranged, seemed to be stacked in an unnatural manner. Could this be the work of human hands? And if so, who were the people responsible for such monumental construction? For the past 2 decades, the claims surrounding the Bosnian pyramids have sparked heated debates, not only within the archaeological community, but also among the public. Mainstream archaeologists have dismissed the idea that the pyramids are man-made, arguing that the formations are simply natural hills that have been shaped by erosion and the passage of time. They cite geological studies that suggest the stone blocks found at the site are the product of natural processes, rather than deliberate construction. But despite this, others insist that there is more to the story. They believe that these hills are the remnants of an advanced civilization that predates anything currently known in human history. The main proponent of the Bosnian pyramid theory, Semir Osmanagić, an entrepreneur and researcher, has been at the forefront of excavations in Visoko. Osmanagić argues that these mounds, particularly the Pyramid of the Sun, the largest of the hills, are in fact remnants of a once great civilization that flourished long before the ancient Egyptians or Sumerians. According to his research, the pyramids in Bosnia are older, larger, and more sophisticated than anything found in Egypt, potentially rewriting human history. The idea that a lost civilization might have constructed these massive pyramids raises a number of fascinating questions. Could there have been an advanced society thousands of years before the recognized ancient civilizations? What evidence could suggest that the people of this time had knowledge of engineering, architecture, and possibly even energy systems far beyond what we attribute to the ancient world? These questions, though provocative, lead us down a path fraught with uncertainty. The claims are not universally accepted by the academic community, and many of the findings have been met with skepticism. However, the more we learn about the Bosnian pyramids, the more we realize just how much remains unexplained. One of the most intriguing elements of the Bosnian pyramid mystery lies in the construction materials found at the site. Large stone blocks, some weighing several tons, appear to be perfectly shaped and arranged in a precise manner. The stone itself has been described as being harder than the usual natural rock found in the region, leading some to speculate that it was quarried and then transported to the site. Some researchers suggest that these blocks may have been cut with advanced tools, far more sophisticated than those believed to have been available to ancient peoples. Furthermore, there are signs that these stones may have been fitted together in such a way that they create perfectly flat surfaces, a technique that would require an extraordinary understanding of engineering. Beyond the stone blocks, there are also mysterious underground tunnels found beneath the pyramids, further fueling speculation about the purpose of the site. These tunnels, often referred to as labyrinths, contain numerous features that have yet to be fully explained. Some suggest that they might have served as part of a vast hydraulic system, possibly used to transport water or power some sort of energy-producing mechanism. Others believe the tunnels may have been used for spiritual or ritual purposes, a means to connect the physical world with the divine. One particular anomaly that has captured attention is the energetic field reportedly found at the site. Measurements taken by various researchers have suggested the presence of unusual electromagnetic phenomena around the pyramids, with some claiming that these fields could potentially have been used for energy generation. One of the most controversial aspects of the Bosnian pyramid story is the claim that these structures are aligned with celestial bodies. Osmanagić and other proponents of the theory argue that the pyramids are precisely aligned with the cardinal directions, suggesting an advanced knowledge of astronomy. But the idea of ancient cultures possessing such a sophisticated understanding of celestial movements before the advent of writing systems has prompted skepticism. Could the pyramid builders have developed such knowledge through their own observations, or were they guided by forces or wisdom now lost to history? Moreover, The site's significance is further compounded by the discovery of what appear to be carvings and inscriptions on some of the stones. These markings, while difficult to interpret, suggest a form of writing or symbolism that is unlike any known script from ancient civilizations. What language did the people of the Bosnian Pyramids speak? Were these inscriptions related to religious rituals, a forgotten history, or even astronomical phenomena? Could they be the key to understanding the true purpose of the pyramids? As we attempt to piece together the mystery of the Bosnian Pyramids, it's essential to recognize the challenges presented by the lack of conclusive evidence. The theory of ancient pyramids in Bosnia faces many hurdles, not least of which is the debate over the authenticity of the structures themselves. Yet, the more we study the site, the more the possibility of a hidden chapter in human history becomes tantalizingly apparent. Could it be that the Bosnian pyramids are indeed remnants of an ancient, advanced civilization that once thrived in the heart of Europe? If so, what other lost cities, technologies, or knowledge might lie buried beneath the earth, waiting to be uncovered? And why, if these civilizations existed, did they vanish without a trace? With each passing year, the search for answers at the Bosnian pyramids continues. But as is often the case with ancient mysteries, the deeper we dig, the more questions arise. Whether we are on the verge of a groundbreaking discovery or simply chasing shadows, the mystery remains unsolved, urging us to look beyond the surface and ask, what secrets might still be hidden in the Bosnian hills?